Welcome everybody to today's stream. Welcome Rocks. Hope you all had a very nice day, week, and now we're enjoying some Guild Wars and we have actually quite a lot of news to cover in today's stream. So stay tuned if you want to know everything that we got. Welcome Chick. Welcome. Hope you're all doing very well. And I think it's slowly building up. Let me set up everything, but I'm actually pretty not, I wouldn't say hype, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Oh. There we are. And yeah, so it's we can see that in the Wizard's Vault in the special tab. 10 days remaining to the patch. And we got some teasers already. That's the good part here. We got some teasers and I think it looks like it is a really good patch coming up, at least from compared to what we got with the last patch. I think it's miles apart in terms of how much content we get. For players that are for open world, legendary, stuff like that, I think there's a lot to get there. And I'm excited for that. Let's see if that holds up to that, but I'm excited nonetheless. And maybe if they release some more new teasers in the next week, maybe some blog post, what is actually all included and stuff like that. I'm really hoping for a big blog post. I'm actually would go as far and say I might actually get hyped for the next patch. So will be exciting. But yeah, we will cover all the news. We have multiple snippets of news. I will cover it all later on the stream today. Just want to slowly start and not show everything in the beginning because there might not be everybody there yet. So, but as usual, if you have any comments, any questions, we can of course talk about anything. I might not have the answers, but I will try. Hope you're all doing fine. Welcome. So let's see what we can do in the meantime. Something interesting maybe. Maybe not. We will have to see. Not that much happening here. I guess we wait and see if someone pops up or something. If not, we will have to create our own group. Maybe. Or maybe we do some build crafting. I wanted to try out some really interesting build crafting on stream here as well. Let's see if we can make that one work. Yeah, I mean, let's start with that then. Something really funny that I wanted to do. So you might have noticed that on my YouTube channel, I released some core builds in the previous weeks. And I wanted to actually build up on that, but also on World vs. World. I did a core Revenant roaming special, and I want to try if I can make something like that work for core Elementalist as well. This is something that will probably be really I'm not so sure if it will be good. Let's leave it at that. But I will try. I will try to make it work. So core Elementalist it is. And I will first go for Celestial and see how that one works out, because that's just something that might be okay. Core Elementalist with Celestial and probably some movement speed should be. Do we need movement speed? Maybe just go full all in on Celestial. See what that brings. We go Core Relic as well. Let's try that one. Fully core. I think Mirage is the best core relic. Yep. That will be so painful. I'm so sorry that you have to watch this, but I it has to be done, it has to be done. We want to try out something new, something fun. Maybe we can make it work. Yeah, but as usual, if you have any questions, any comments, let me know. And we will just slowly get more people in the stream, and then we talk about the news. And I will also showcase everything that we got, at least as far as I know. And we will have to see what we can make with that. I guess energy is good. Let's leave it at that. And they are also bad, the core elite skills. Oh my god. Oh my god. Let's see what we can do. Fire is probably set in stone. We want definitely arcane. Gives us some nice passives and healing. Yeah, and we want Pyromancer's Puissance for some might application, I guess. And I guess that to cleanse some conditions, yeah. I mean, Burning Precision maybe? No, it's actually like, it's so scuffed already. I like Core Elementalist. We will see if that works. Maybe the Signet trade is okay here. And going for a lot of Signets, maybe. Maybe that's the way. Maybe. We will see. Let's try it like that. Core Elementalist, you know, Core Elementalist roaming. Oh my god, will probably be quite painful to watch. Maybe I have some one-on-ones that are actually fun to watch as well, but you know, we wanted to try something new on stream, some build crafting. I'm not completely convinced about like this trade here. Maybe we go for the Vigor trade instead. Yeah, get some Vigor. Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for the news. I think the legendaries look actually exciting. I will hopefully get both of them rather soon when it comes out, so I can showcase them. Other than that, I think the patch has a lot of like story. It has a new map. It has a lot of new things to cover, and I hope we have also a lot of things to explore that are like longevity-wise interesting. So not only the legendaries, but also like maybe the meta event gives some cool rewards. I heard there is a raptor skin there as well, which is really cool, that never have done anything like that. So I'm excited for that one specifically. Even though I'm not really into mount skins, but I think that is really cool to get. I think in general, this is looking like a really good patch. Welcome. Which one will you get first, the World vs. World one or the PvE one? That is a good question. I think it depends heavily how much currency we need. I think from World vs. World you can already stockpile. I would be very surprised if it needs anything else than skirmish tickets and badges of honor and a lot of gold. So I'm pretty sure I can do that rather fast. And when it comes to the PvE one, I think that might take longer, so I will probably get the World vs. World one first, because the PvE one, I would be extremely surprised if it wouldn't need anything from the new map. And from the new map, I obviously don't have anything of that yet, so it means that in the end, I will probably need to grind the new meta, you know? And that means that it cannot be crafted day one. You need to probably do multiple runs of the meta event. So I will go for the World vs. World one first. But if the PvE one by chance is just really easy to get, then I will of course go for that one as well. Yeah. Welcome, Winslow. Welcome. Yeah. But this is just my, so to say, what I think here. Might be like completely different, but for now I think that's a fair assessment of what is fast to get and what not. Oh my god, Core Elementalist. It feels, you know, it feels like to be honest, it feels like Catalyst or Evoker. Just that you lose like a lot of like value from your, like, you don't have elite skills, you don't have any good like utilities other than the signets, I guess. I'm not sure if that's like, if that can stand against someone that is actually a rather skilled player. But we had some Core Elementalist lovers in chat, so who knows? Are the Visions of Eternity legendaries easier to get than their other counterparts? That's hard to say. I would say yes, easier, but because of that they are easier to get, typically they are also more expensive. So, for example, the how is it called? Aurora? No, how is it called? Pax, like this like spear staff hybrid weapon is pretty expensive. So even though it's rather easy to get, it's like one of the, like, I would say fastest legendaries to get. It is quite like gold intense. Yeah. So I would say if you're going for the most efficient way of getting it and you don't care about gold, then yes, the Visions of Eternity legendary is probably one of the easiest to get. But if you care about gold, I think pretty much like a lot of the older legendaries, because they are not as late, come to the party. You know, that means that not a lot of people that want it don't have it already. Then you have, so to say, like a big demand for the newer ones, and therefore the prices are higher. And that will probably occur exactly like that with the upcoming legendary accessories. I would be very surprised if they would be rather cheap, because I think a lot of people are waiting for the PvE open world legendary accessory, for example. And whatever materials it uses, it will probably also use like a lot of the resources that are people like having stockpiled and stuff. So I think there will be a lot of demand on a trading post for those new resources, and therefore it will probably be rather expensive. Not saying it will be like completely bad and you cannot get it anymore if you don't have like huge amounts of gold stockpiled, but I think it's definitely noticeable that in the beginning of the patch you will probably have a big spike of some materials. I don't know which materials, but which, like, we will have to see. Yeah, we will have to see. I think we definitely need a stun break though. I'm not sure if Lightning Flash, maybe we go for like this and 4 Signet. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's just my analysis. You know, I think the problem is that a lot of players, especially if you go for like trinkets, there are not that many options. You know, for trinkets you have like the Prismatic Champion's Regalia and you have the Transcendence from PvP. And then if you have Coalescence, you have the Endless Summer Ring and you have the Conflux Ring. And for accessories, you only have Vision on an Aura. So now we get a new accessory and we get a new, like, we have some backpacks here. So it's like there is definitely some things that are like easier to get, but there are not that many options for trinkets. It's more for the weapons that you have a lot of options. You know, you can go for like the new, how's it called, Ancora packs and Vellum and stuff. Those are, so to say, quite expensive, but they are new and easy to acquire other than the gold. Yeah. Welcome, Fatty McCool. Welcome. Thanks again for the build. It's awesome. It inspired me to try some core elementalist as well here in World versus World. Welcome, Neoshi. Welcome. I'm good. How are you doing? How are you all doing? I'm excited for the news. Yeah, we will cover it later. Just a little bit more time until everybody is showing up so that no one is missing the, so to say, recap of the news that we got over the course of the week, because we actually got, I would say, like maybe 5 to 10 snippets of news, which is quite exciting. I have to be honest, I did not expect they did the marketing or whatever that is called, what they are doing here, in this specific way, that like just some random shorts and like sneak peeks and maybe a short video about a recap of the story, that they dropped it over the course of a week. But I personally think it's at least hyping up the patch. That's good. Core Ele in World vs. World? Yes, Core Elementalist in World vs. World, exactly. I'm not having my hopes up that it works as well as like the PvE version, but who knows, you know? I'm like trying my best. I was wondering if you knew a Thief rival World vs. World build. So I would say Deadeye is your option there then. Like you cannot play any other Thief spec with a rifle very well in competitive modes, because you need the stealth on dodge trait, which is in Deadeye, so you need to go for that one. And it's only a roamer. You cannot play that in a Zerg very well, because in a Zerg, the problem is that why Thief and in general like Ranger, all the specs that are heavily reliant on having a lot of projectiles and want to hit them is like really hard to do in a Zerg. Because in a Zerg, you have to imagine, in a Zerg, you're fighting like 30 to 50 other players. And there is, just by chance, always some kind of projectile destruction, projectile reflect up. And that means that when you play a rifle, for example, on a Thief, you will never hit anything, because all your projectiles can be deflected, reflected, and whatever. So it's like not a good Zerg build. For roaming, I would say like playing a full Berserker, maybe full Marauder, Deadeye with a rifle, and maybe like Trickery and Deadly Arts or something like that. That is probably your best bet. Like this is probably a really, really solid like roamer if you like this kind of playstyle where you just like say, okay, I like sneak up on someone and snipe them down, and then if they engage on me, I just try to disengage with stealth and fast movement. That is a very valid way of playing in World vs. World for sure. Yeah. Nothing going on here. Nah, let's see. If we can get some 101s. I really wanted to see how a Core Elementalist is doing in some 101s, but no one here to fight. But yeah, back to the patch. I think the patch, I'm excited for like more story, for more open world and stuff like that. But I really fear that if the meta event is not landing well, that the longevity of the patch is really, again, too heavily on the legendaries, and that is just for a lot of players not the most interesting aspect. You know, people like to play something that is fun, that have some kind of new cool skins to unlock and stuff, and legendaries are just very expensive. A lot of players don't go for them. So I really hope the legendary is not the only longevity that we get. Yeah, welcome, Peachy. Welcome. Yeah, I really hope the meta looks like the meta. We don't know anything about it yet, but I think it looks quite cool. The map, what we saw from the teasers, we will go over the videos later. But I think the meta really has to live up. You know, I was hoping for a meta like maybe Dragon's Dance, something like that. That is really cinematic, really cool, and really like I want to play that again. You know, that would be awesome. If it's a meta that is like the second map's meta, I think that's okay. It's not like crazy good. It's also not crazy bad. But I really hope for something that is like, that is like you know, back to the core of like Guild Wars 2's crazy good meta design. I think the Starlit Welt meta is like, I think it's decent. It's not like horrible or anything. But I think if you compare that to the really good metas that we had with End of Dragons, that we had with Heart of Thorns, you know, that is just not there. And I really hope that they will like make something like that again. I think that would be the big hope. Hopefully they will also do another meta event, I have to be honest, in the last map. I really hope we get 2 meta events, like with each of those maps. I think that would be like, probably everybody would agree that this would be awesome. Yeah. And it even have the second VOE meta. I hate the second VOE meta. It's just really long and same-ish all the time. Yeah, I think, I'm not even like saying it's bad. I think it's actually way better than a lot of probably better than all of Chantewald's metas. Like, I actually think it's decent. The problem is that I think it's too repetitive as a whole, and then it's also rather long. So I think if you look at, for example, Dragon's Stand, if you look at maybe even like the Aetherblade, like Assault in Saitung Province. Those are somewhat similar long meta events with chaining events and stuff, but they are not feeling that repetitive. And that's why it's more exciting for me, at least, to play them. And I think like it would be nice to have something that is actually worth going back just for the content, not even for the rewards, just because it's fun to do. Yeah. I find myself doing some Dragon's End at this point because it's a fun meta event, even though it's not that rewarding compared to others. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like that is something that is also worth mentioning about longevity. Both VOE metas are kind of similar. The second one is just so much longer. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the first one is, to be honest, more like a world boss. It does not really have any classic meta event chain aspects. It's really just about like you fight the bosses. That's pretty much it. And I think it's rather long at that, but I think it's okay. For a world boss, it's okay, but I think a meta event, the second one is better, but also not like perfect. Yeah, not perfect. I think they simply don't have enough time anymore to make such meta content. That is a very valid point. I really fear that this is the case. Yeah, I have to be honest. I feel like the whole team is not focused on making meta events like that anymore. Even though this is, I would say, one of the best selling points of Guild Wars 2. Like this big open world, big events, big like bosses and fights like that, and somewhat also cinematic gameplay. I really think so. Yeah. Hopefully they can prove us wrong here, but I'm sadly there with you. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. The second one is, you are correct, Defetti. I think the second one is considered like a meta event because it consists of multiple events, which is by definition a meta event. But I think it's more like it's multiple stages of the same fight, some to say. So you have a pre-event and then you spoil the boss and then you have some events in there. I know. I think it's fair to say that. But I think it's like there is not a clear threshold. What is a world boss and what is a meta event? I think that is in Guild Wars 2 at this point pretty like hard to distinguish anymore, but it doesn't really matter. In the end, I think if it's fun, it's fun, and I think the second one is more fun than the first one, but it's just very long. That's the main aspect that I don't really like here. I think something that is more like, at least if it doesn't feel that long, it's good. I don't know. We will have to see. Maybe the next meta event is only like 15 minutes long and it's just really, really fun to do. Then I would be happy. Yeah. We have to see. I'm like trying my best to not be negative here or anything. I hope it will be good. Yeah. I don't know when they will announce anything about the upcoming game. If they have anything planned about that, we will have to see. But it will probably be months out. Like I would be very surprised if it would be sooner than Visions of Eternity ends. So not before August, I would guess. That's my prediction there. I just got back into Guild Wars 2 and found a set of heavy Minstrel laying around. What could I do with it? So you can play healers in PvE with Minstrel pretty well. Like, for example, like Guardian is really good with Minstrel gear. I would say Warrior can also be played decent with Minstrel gear. Those two would be probably the best, but you can also play it in World vs. World as a healer, like a support. Especially Guardian is extremely good in World vs. World as a support as well. Especially like Firebrand nowadays and Luminary, those are good with Minstrel. The same goes, of course, for PvE. I would not recommend playing a Minstrel Willbender or a Minstrel Dragon Hunter. Those are a bit like not that good. But anything else, yeah, anything else is pretty solid. Welcome, Patricia. Welcome. Hope you're doing fine. Welcome to the chat, everybody. It's sad, I remember post-launch of End of Dragons, still can see a dev account running around at meta events, but now the last dev I see is in my Season of For Winds festival. Yeah, I'm not sure, I will not judge there because I never saw that many devs, because I'm just like often in instance content and stuff like that, where it's obviously less likely to find devs than in open world. But I actually, when the Fractal event happened, the Fractal Incursion event, when was that, like in September last year or something, there is this one achievement. I'm not sure if I can find it. Where is it? Fractals and then Incursive Investigation, I think. And yeah, this one. There is this like complete one Fractal in quick play mode with a teammate who works at ArenaNet or has completed this achievement. This is a really fun achievement. And the cool part here is, I did Fractal Quick Play and I actually was playing with an ArenaNet developer. I was not someone that completed the achievement because of someone else. I completed it because we had actually one developer in our team. That was actually really fun. So I remember that back then that was actually really nice and really fun that we had some interactions with like the developers when this came out, and like had some, it was just a random quick play, yeah, and we got the arena developer in there. It was really nice, but I guess you are right. I think that was like maybe a couple of years ago it was more actively happening, but I think it's also luck based. You never know if you're just like finding someone or not that is just currently playing. Yeah. Is Condi Druid still good? Oh yes, it's very good. You can see that in my DPS tier list. I ranked it really highly because it still has extremely high DPS and there's good utility for a DPS build. Yeah, it's a good build. Yeah. It's insanely good. It's really good. It's not the build that I would recommend for everybody because it's not like the easiest build to play. And it's also a Condi build, which is obviously you have to think about it. The power build has more burst damage. In a lot of cases that's preferred. But if you know what you're doing, then this is one of the best builds to play right now. Like Condi Druid is insanely good. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see what we have here. But yeah, I think like in general, it's all about like, how can I say, perception. Yeah, I think the meta, a lot of people think, oh my god, this balance patch changed so much. And for example, Druid like got a nerf of like, I don't know, 4k or something DPS. But in the end, it's a lot of like the perception is what matters a lot, because a lot of times you have players that play something because someone else said they played something because this content creator said it's really good, or because the benchmark is really high. But in a lot of cases, that's not necessarily the thing that is the most important one, yeah, to notice. Because a lot of times, for example, one of the not crazy high benchmarks, you will see this here, is Power Chrono that I play now here. And Power Chrono is, in my opinion, a good build that has a lot of utility in the kit. But not a lot of people play it. Maybe it's also because it's a bit harder than others. But I think this is something that you definitely have to keep in mind. Perception and meta are not always the same thing. Like the perception of the meta is something somewhat completely different than what the actual meta is. Yeah. Yeah, I think if you played through it before the patch, nothing really changed. It's just the damage number going a bit down, but it's still insanely high. So if you like that playstyle, it's still very, very good. And I think that goes for almost every build. There is like a few exceptions that I would say are not that worthwhile playing anymore. For example, like Quickness DPS Catalyst, or in general, like those like very aggressive, really try-hard playstyles. They are a bit nerfed for sure, but yeah, I mean, not bad at all. A friend might try the game soon. What class would you say is the best to run all game modes and has good builds for a variety of playstyles? I think Guardian is too complicated and busy for new players. Same with Mesmer due to Chrono and Troubadour, and Mirage needs help from ArenaNet. Necromancer, Revenant. I think personally, if the thing is, you should never. I always try. Let's say it like that. I always try. If a new player asks me in chat, what class should I choose? I always say the first thing is you should play the class that looks the most fun to you from a design perspective, because I think in any game mode, in especially PvE, in all situations, every class has a really good build. So you should just choose the class that you actually enjoy the look of, the playstyle of, because I think it would be a shame if someone recommends you something that is, yeah, it's really good, maybe, because it's really flexible and stuff like that, but you just don't like the playstyle of. So I think that is the first part. But if you then decide on, like, let's say Necromancer, Mesmer, and Guardian that look cool, and you want to play one of those, then you can look at the actual meta or at the actual ease of use and stuff like that. I think the first part should always be, do you like the class fantasy? Do you like the playstyle of it? And that's really my big thing that I would recommend your friend as well. And if you are like saying, I don't have any preference, I want to play meta stuff and that is fun and good, then I would say I'm with you there. I think Guardian is really good and really flexible. The same goes for Mesmer, but they are not necessarily the easiest if you want to play all the flexibility there. I think Necromancer might be easier to get all the flexibility going because it's a safer class, a little bit a more slow-paced class than especially Mesmer. I think that would be my top recommendation if you have no class fantasy preference whatsoever. Yeah, I would go probably for Necromancer or Guardian, which is probably the reason why they are the most played classes. Yeah. But yeah, that is just my analysis there. And we will see, you know, meta is always changing. I'm not saying what is really crazy good and what's really like not good. I think it's more about what is flexible, and that will probably not change in the next few weeks, months, maybe years ever, who knows. I think like Mesmer and Guardian will always be extremely flexible. Yeah. I guess from the actual builds and stuff, I could have enjoyed Necromancer a lot, but I just cannot stand being a Necromancer, just a Ranger in the end, because I wanted a pet, and that's what I'm happy with today. Yeah, I think it's like you should play what you're happy and what you enjoy the most, because this is something that even if a build is extremely strong, cannot necessarily give you. And this is why I'm always like really want to stress that in my streams, that it's a game. You know, you're playing a game and you want to have fun playing the game. You should not focus too much on stuff that is optimal if it's not fun to you. Yeah, that is definitely something that I want to stress every time it comes up here. Love Ranger playstyle or specs, but I get tired of the pets always next to me or when it dies. So I'm looking for something similar right now. That's interesting. So you could go for Mechanist, which is pretty much like an Engineer Ranger hybrid. That can be really good if you are looking for something that is like pet heavy, but this will have a similar problem. It can die, but the mech is probably, it depends on the mech and the pet that you compare, but I think it might be even like better. Why is my alacrity not there? It's so painful if you play Chronomancer and don't have alacrity, because then you lose 15% crit chance, which is, oof, that hurts. But yeah, yeah, Mechanist comes to mind, like especially Rifle Mechanist with them just mech as a pet. What else comes to mind with a similar playstyle? I mean, nowadays Elementalist can also be some kind of like minion build. Necromancer, of course, with the Ritualist, probably the best thing. Yeah, something like that I would recommend. But it's really like there are so many classes that have nowadays a playstyle that can be somewhat similar to Ranger. It's just depending on the build, you know. Even Thief, if you have this like Archer playstyle in mind, you can argue that, for example, a Deadeye with a rifle can be played as some kind of range DPS. So yeah, I think that is my recommendation there. But yeah, let's do this run here, and then we talk about the news, or let's show the news. Then we can already talk about it. Are you excited for the patch? That's the question that I have. You know, I'm excited, but are you excited as well? Did you get the news or saw any of the videos and stuff like that, or are you like, oh my god, why not waiting for the? Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think in like, for me, I'm excited, but I don't know if the community is like, after the last patch, a little bit like, let's wait and see what actually is going on. We will have to see, but I'm actually already excited. Yes, you can ! news, then you will get the links to all the news. We have World vs. World changes. We got some announcements. I will talk about that. I will also talk about, how is it called? Give me stability. Yes. I will also talk, of course, about all the next patch related things, so new legendaries, how they look. I want to talk about the new map the new meta event and stuff like that. Yeah, so you can type !news in the Twitch or YouTube chat and you will get a answer from the bot. It gets you the links to it, but we will also cover that here on stream later as well. Just doing the run here and talking about it first and showcasing it later a bit more in depth when more people are in the stream or have awoken or whatever. Yes. This is rather scuffed, I have to be honest, but it's fine. I really want them to have a look at UI for classes like Mesmer. Having those small symbols above makes it really hard to play for me. That is an interesting comment. Like, of course, I played so much Mesmer, so I don't have a problem with that. But I think that might be something that a lot of new players encounter as well. So I think that would be really cool. I think in general UI updates would be awesome. But who knows? Who knows what they will do? I think they might be a bit like thin spread on terms of like new features and contents to release. Yeah. But it's maybe just my analysis there. So let's summarize the news quickly. We have news about the legendaries. We get two trinkets, one from World vs. World and one from Open World. Likely, yeah. Then from the new map, and we will get a new map. We get new story, actually quite a bit of new story. So if you're into that, you will like that, I guess. We will also get new relics. We have not heard anything about that. That is for me something that I'm really excited. Thanks a lot, Neoshi. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the tier 1. Thanks a lot for the support. Hope you're enjoying the stream. So that is just something that like I'm excited about. Maybe not a lot of people enjoy the build crafting or like the new relics, but I'm actually looking forward to that. And then we got the World vs. World changes. We will talk about that in a second here. Where is it? Somewhere. Yeah. This one. You get some extra rewards depending on the placements. That is already really good. We will talk about it later as well. But other than that, what is in there? We get a new like skin, a new meta event from the open world map. That will be exciting. Yeah, will be cool. That will be cool. Message hint about World vs. World changes. The difference in rewards between coming in first and third are minimal, to be honest, but World vs. World has always been dominated by certain guilds or alliances. Yeah, I think that is a very valid point, that this, like, you get here essentially like 150 and like 10 instant reward drag and 7 gold, and then the last place you get 3 gold and 100 tickets. It's like essentially you get 4 gold less and 50 skirmish tickets less. Like, let's say maybe in total you get maybe like 6 gold less because of the instant reward track progress, or maybe something like that. So like 5 gold less, something like that, plus 50 tickets that you are missing. So it's like, if you are grinding hard for the tickets, I think it's something that you notice, but I think you are correct that it's in a lot of, oh my god, I'm bugged now, shit. Okay, this time it worked. Sometimes if I'm in continuum split and I'm getting hit with the CC attack, I will not like get out anytime soon. But yeah, I think this is definitely like a concern. I think they wanted to make it so that it's like not too, like that you get like 10 times the amount for winning, because then it will be like people will only play if they are on a winning matchup. And I think that's also not what you want to have. So I think I can see the arguments for being a bit more conservative there, but I'm with you there. I think it would be nice to have like some insane amount of like value there to engage with World vs. World. But I think it's already really good with like just 150 more tickets per week. That is a lot. Like, this is a lot. I'm not joking. This is something that speeds up getting the World vs. World legendary items actually quite a bit. So I'm excited for that specifically. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a bit matchup dependent, and I think that's not necessarily a good thing. You want to have some things that are like, that you are like, you have the feeling that you can influence the matchup, and you don't want to necessarily say, okay, we are fighting against this specific server and we just will never ever like get first place. I think that feels a bit bad. Yeah, but I think that will always happen to some extent. So I think it's good. It's a good direction. I think it definitely needs improvement, which just is a lot of times in ArenaNet's like history. This is just what happens, I would think. Yeah, if you think about the quick play, if you think about like a lot of things, like in the beginning it was like decent, and then they needed to iterate on it. And if they did that, it was actually really good. If they didn't do it, it stayed in the way where it was. And for me, I hope they iterate on this like reward feature. And I think they said it because it's like, it's a beta still. It's still in the beta. And I think when it comes out in the normal, so to say, normal, how can I say, real 1.0 release, I think then they are pretty sure that they change some stuff up depending on the player feedback and stuff. I would be very surprised if they didn't. Yeah. Yes, the new patch is on the 12th. Yeah, so in 10 days. Yes. Nice. Congrats on the World vs. World Legendary Armor. Very good, very good. They are adding the new legendary accessories, so you can maybe use tickets on that. Exactly. That is the plan. That's why I was already like saving up for the last weeks, because I think it makes sense that new legendary World vs. World accessory is like requiring decent chunk of tickets, and now you get even more tickets for competing in World vs. World just by being there, for getting the World vs. World, like, what is it? Getting the, how is it called? Gold chest, that's the one. If you complete the gold chest, you get like essentially 100 more tickets for not more time spent, which is in my opinion really, really valuable. Okay, no CC. That is interesting. World vs. World needs people, so whatever they do to get them to World vs. World is good. Yeah, I think it's in general like World vs. World or any game mode that gets more people in the game mode, like whatever rewards, whatever they do, that just brings more people in a certain game mode is probably always a good thing. Like more player attention, you saw that with the raid update. We have more players into raids than we had probably since release of raids. It's really a lot of players engage with raids because of the new raid update. And if that happens with the World vs. World update as well, I don't know, it's just awesome. I would say more players to the game modes means more players engaging, more content, more just fun. Hopefully. Hopefully. Where's my alacrity? That is really painful. Like, where's the alacrity? At least we're not dying. That's good. Oh my god, maybe I spoke too soon. Says it and instantly gets like killed by the aura damage of the boss. Okay, we survived. This is a bit painful, I have to be honest. Okay, we are fine, I think. Nice, we did. But yeah, I think like one of the biggest things that World vs. World is lacking is the marketing. Like, World vs. World is a really cool game mode. I know there are some people in chat that don't like World vs. World, and that's completely fine. Not everybody has to play every game mode. But I think if ArenaNet would market the game more with that you have World vs. World as a, so to say, end game content that you can play, I think more people would actually play Guild Wars 2 and would play into World vs. World. I think just a lot of people don't know about it. It's such a unique selling point if you compare it to other games. And they just don't market it really well. And that's a bit sad, yeah. You know, I've talked about the core Hammer Guardian. Boneskin is one of those fights. Really shines. The passive heal can really save Groots with less good heals. And the protection uptime as well, yeah. I think like having this hammer as a slow but very stationary and very sustainy, very DPS and like just save option is insanely good in fights like Bone Skinner, where you have consistent damage pressure on the same like place. You know, you don't move ever on Bone Skinner. Like, you always rotate around the boss. There is not a single time where you move outside of the, so to say, radius of your symbols. Yeah, it's really good there. I agree. Maybe I have to do another video of like low intensity Guardian. Maybe Core Guardian is the way to approach this. But I think I did already cover like Dragon Hunter, Core Guardian, even Willbender with a hammer. So I think like, I'm not sure if I should just repeat everything. But in general, I agree with you. It's a really good, like really underrated build. It's actually sad that a lot of people always think, oh, low intensity, you play like pistol, or something like on Thief. But I think like a lot of times there are so many low intensity builds that have something else than DPS in their kit and should be actually valued a bit more highly. Yeah. It took a beating with the nerfs. I think it kept at 26k DPS. Yeah, I think Guardian was one of the rather big losers of the patch, and that goes especially for low intensity builds as well, because that is the sad part about this patch. A lot of the low intensity builds also got hit. Pretty like significantly, some of them. Like if you look at the unload, that is not like insanely hard affected, yeah, at like 10% less or something. But if you look at Guardian, where some of the like traits were really important to get like insane amount of damage with them, like 26k is not bad, but if you compare that at my like core pistol 0 button build with 24.5k DPS ranged, it's, I would say, just straight up worse, because having a 26k DPS build that requires the boss to be stationary and you to potentially also press more buttons than one is not necessarily like comparable, but I personally think it's good to have at least the option for every class. And 26k is definitely good, you know. If you look at what some people here are doing, I think they would be way better off even on this fight by playing a low intensity build. No, don't CC. I hate it when that happens. Don't CC. Oh, nice, no bug. Hopefully, that's good. Pistol is king. Yeah, pistol is really good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying there are other builds out there as well, you know. Stability, nice. And nice. We have stability, permanent stability uptime. That's good. Surprising. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You have good utility on Guardian, which is like, if you compare it to Thief, where you have a lot of CC with Basilisk Venom, and that's pretty much it. I think it's really nice to have like classes that can be played low intensity, but then you have like Stand Your Ground. You have like potentially Sanctuary. You have so many good things that can actually add on top, even if you're pressing only 0 buttons essentially. Yeah, good point. Maybe I should do like a low intensity, like maybe a tier list again. Maybe I have to see. Yeah. A lot of folks in World vs. World are only there for Gift of Battle and have no interest in it at all. Yeah, that is like a sad truth, yeah. But I think that goes for almost every game mode. Like a lot of people that play MMOs are there for the rewards. They are not necessarily there to get better, to have fun. They are there to get the rewards. So you can probably say that a huge chunk of the players that play raids are only playing raids because they actually want to get, for example, a legendary armor. And as soon as they have enough legendary insights, they will never play raids again. That goes for World vs. World with the Gift of Battle as well. It's really, a lot of people are like really reward driven, and that is okay, but that leads to this interaction that you have players that want to play the game mode and want to get better, and you have players that are only there for the reward. That can clash. That's just how it goes. Yeah. Sadly. Yeah. Any recommendations for Condi DPS, Boon DPS with fast ramp up? What is a good fast ramp up time? I mean, probably one of the best, if not the best, would be like quickness, condition DPS, Firebrand. Because it's essentially only burning that you apply, and burning is the fastest ramping condition. So that would probably be one of my top picks there. It's not the easiest, don't get me wrong, it's not the easiest at all. But if you want to have a challenge, or if you can live up to the numbers that it can provide, it's really good. Like, it is really good. Has good utility, as we spoke of just now, with the Guardian utility, plus really good bursty conditions. Yeah, that's my recommendation, I would say. As someone coming back to the game after years, Thief low intensity builds, Pistol or Dagger Condi really helped me to get a feel for the game without being overwhelmed by rotations. Really helps to learn the fights. Yeah, I think that is my biggest selling point of low intensity builds, is that it not only makes the game more accessible for players that have some kind of disability or stuff like that, but even for players that can play the game if they wanted to at a really high level. They can start out with learning the boss's mechanics on a very easy build, and I think that is really underrated how valuable it is. Like, understanding a boss is so much more important than actually playing a build that is crazy good on the golem, because you might not even reach that anywhere close on the real fight. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And I noticed that when I make my videos for low intensity builds, you know, obviously I could play a DPS build that has a higher DPS number on the golem. But when I go into a pack group I'm not joking here. If I go into a raid puck group, like there is a very high chance that even on the low intensity build, I will be either top DPS or close to it. Not because I'm such a god gamer, just because I know the fights. Yeah, that is the difference there. Even on a build that does not have crazy good DPS compared to, like, for example, the top DPS builds right now, it might still be top DPS because I know the fights. And that is so important. It's really, really underrated. Yeah. Welcome to the chat. Welcome. Hope you all had a nice day so far. And like I said, I'm excited for the new patch, you know. I talked about low intensity builds and stuff like that. I hope there will be some relics that spice up some build crafting, you know. I have some hopes for relics I will not mention here, but when it comes out, I really hope some of like the hopes come true, you know. There are some relics that are completely missing in Guild Wars 2, and I really hope they will include some of those. That would be so awesome. Yeah. Can you give the Predator Legendary weapon away, please? I mean, maybe the next giveaway we will do. We didn't do a legendary giveaway in the last few weeks, so maybe we have to do some next week. Maybe we will see, and then I might do it for you. You know, maybe one of the legendaries that I will give away is the Predator. Yes, we can do that. But yeah, like I'm excited for not only the map and stuff like that, but I'm also excited for the build crafting aspect and stuff like that. I know that's not what a lot of people are into, like think, oh, this patch 6 new relics, who cares? But I actually think this can actually be really fun. Like if there are some really good relics, and I think the Visions of Eternity relics are actually not only very strong, some of them, but they also are pretty unique. And I hope they will actually continue to have such unique and interesting relics. We will see. No, I'm not winning in a giveaway. Yeah, I mean, maybe this time, you know. I cannot give a legendary to single player. That's just not how it works. But if we do like a giveaway, you have the chance at least, you know. If you don't compete, you have no chance of winning either. On the core elementalist, I was really struggling with finding a good relic. What good burning relics there are? Yeah, exactly. My hope is that the relics fill niches that we don't have yet. So for example, if you look at condition relics, yeah, the condition relics that you have, you can count on one hand. You have the relic of the fractal, which is the most aggressive but very boring relic. It's just passively some condis that you apply. And then you have relic of like maybe Bloodstone, relic of Akeem if you apply Confusion. And that's pretty much it, I would say. Yeah. So it's like you can go some defensive relics there, but it's like there are not that many relics that actually give you DPS increase as a condition build. So I was hoping for some kind of burning related relic. I was hoping for some kind of torment related relic, something that actually is useful on some condi builds, but not all of them. Relic of the Fractal is like just slap it on your condi build and it will work pretty much all the time. And I think that's boring. I hope there will be some more exciting build crafting going on. Yeah. But yeah, that's just my opinion, you know. Like some relics are, some people are really like they want to have broken relics, for example, like I don't know, relic of rivers in PvE, like with permanent alacrity uptime, or relic of the Pirate Queen with like insane of like easy quickness access in a solo build or something. But I think that is not necessarily the thing that is required. What is my team doing? They are dead. What? That's insane. How did like 8 people or like 7 people die here? That's crazy. But yeah, I think like we don't necessarily need broken relics. I think we need relics that are interesting and have uniqueness to them that actually makes sense to use in certain builds, but not in all builds. And I think Relic of the Fractal is one of the most boring relics in existence, and I think that should be not always the best one. Yeah. No, I'm not saying Relic of the Fractal is bad, don't get me wrong. I think it's by far the best condi relic out there in a lot of cases, but I think it's boring. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people like the Pirate Queen relic a lot, and I think it's a really fun relic. But I think not every relic has to be as broken as this one, you know? It just needs to be a fun concept, you know? And if it's good on certain builds, that's good enough. It does not need to be a relic that is useful on every single build. I think that can be there, don't get me wrong, it can be. but it doesn't need to be. They don't have to come up with every single relic that they release that it is as broken as the relics that we consider meta nowadays. Yeah. People underestimate Cold War. Damage can get kinda bonkers if you ignore the flying machines and mechanics. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think they were just standing in the damaging AoE field. Like, I don't flame them at all. I mean, it's just like it happens with the visual clutter that you die here very fast, especially if your healer is sleeping. I think Cold War is like a very nice healer check, to be honest. There is this end boss can have this mechanic. It depends a bit. It's a little bit like a bounty, I think. Some of the mechanics on this fight can be like damage reflect or AoE damage reflect. It's really weird. And this can kill you very, very fast. If your healers are not up to the challenge, you will die very fast in this fight, especially with all the chill uptime. Your cooldowns coming back slower. Oh yes, that can be quite painful. Yeah, exactly. So I think relics that are passively activating, like just by attacking, is, in my opinion, rather boring. I want to have a relic that is, so to say, a little bit more theory crafting, yeah? So for example, I think Relic of Pater is pretty much the most extreme one that we have. It doesn't need to be like that. I think, for example, Relic of Fireworks is more interesting than the Fractal Relic because the Relic of Fireworks or Relic of Claw actually require you to do a certain task. So for example, you use a skill that has a recharge time of 20 seconds or more, weapon skill that is. Or you use the Relic of the Claw where you need to CC the every 8 seconds or something. And I think that is more interesting than just auto-attacking and proccing the Relic of the Fractal because your auto-attack applies bleeding. I think this is, like, for me, from a design perspective, more interesting when you have to alter at least your rotation a little bit because you actually play something that makes your build better, but you have to alter your rotation to actually achieve that. I think that's more interesting. Relic of Pater is probably one of the most criminal ones in terms of like how much you have to alter it on certain builds because you have to spam shadow stepping and stuff like that, but it doesn't need to be that crazy. So just like mentioning a few examples here, and I think it's okay to have boring relics. I think they should just not always be optimal. And I think if the most boring relic is the optimal one, that is, in my opinion, when it gets a bit concerning. At least in my opinion. Hopefully that makes sense. When do you activate CS? Like not during the opener? Yeah, so if, of course, in the opener you should activate it, and after that you should always think, okay, is there a phase happening? If there is a phase happening, then I will delay my CS. If there is not a phase happening, then I will use it just instantly when it comes off cooldown and I have a nice amount of attacks ready. So for example, you should always pair your continuum split with like your phantasm skills that are doing a lot of damage. You should never use your continuum split just to auto attack because then you essentially waste it. So ideally you have 3 clones up, you have the continuum split ready, and you have almost every single other attack to repeat the opener again. That would be ideal, but of course that cannot always be the case. So I would say if you have your Signet of Ether ready and you have one of your illusions up, that is probably a good use of it, because then you can essentially get double the illusions from like 2 to 4. That will be a good use of the continuum split. On my scrapper, I don't even know what triggers claw. It just does. No altering there. Exactly. Sometimes it's not like that. I know that is a fair point. It's sometimes you just spam your buttons anyway and you get the relic proc. That is a fair point. But I think in a lot of cases it's better to have at least a relic that has a conditional proc than something that is just essentially always up. Like Relic of the Thief or Relic of the Fractal. Those are relics that are essentially always proccing off cooldown. And while it can be good, don't get me wrong, it is also something that is not like very interesting and fun from a gameplay perspective. Yeah, you should be very careful, of course, with the Bone Skinner and like attacks where you like want to be out of this certain location and you teleport back into that can be very painful. But you get the hang of it. Like, even if you can do it on Bone Skinner, even in the beginning in the opener, you just have to time your, for example, distortion correctly, and then it works very well as well. It's just like, it's as almost with everything, you just need to get more practice done, and then you will get better. Yeah, that's just how it goes. You need, why didn't it pop up? That's okay. That's okay. But yeah, if you have any questions, any comments, let me know. And we will do this and one more fight, and then we will cover finally the news. Took longer than expected, but we will get there. We will get there. But yeah, like I said, relics is something that I could talk about probably the whole day. Like one of the relics that I'm always hoping for is like, we have Biomancer relic right now, which heals you when you apply bleeding or poison. I want that in a similar way with Torment or Burning or both. Like that would be insanely broken. You should maybe balance it differently, but I think that would be so fun. Like a relic that you can use as a defensive Condi relic would be so good. Like Torment, like old Tormenting runes, or maybe make something for Burning in a similar vein. That would be really good. Like that would be so fun. I'm not sure if they will ever do that, because a lot of really good DPS builds apply a lot of Burning or a lot of Torment, especially in competitive modes as well. That will be probably hard to balance, but it would be so fun. It would be build crafting would be so interesting for a couple of days when it comes out. So we will have to see. Maybe it's just some niche relics like Relic of Shackles or Relic of the Coral Heart, which are really, really niche and in a lot of cases just not worthwhile using. But I think if they are fun and have an interesting concept, that's better than not having a good relic either. Yeah. I mean, what are your relics? What do you think is a relic that should be in the game and is not? You know, maybe I'm just not imaginative enough. Maybe you have some crazy ideas which you can like implement in the game and actually make something that works very well. I would be excited to have some cool new ideas from you. Maybe Arena that listens even. That would be even better. When dodging, you fart and it inflicts poison. I actually think relics that work on dodge don't exist that often, and I think that would be really interesting. Like, I know you are talking here necessarily like a little bit about a choke, but I think relics that work on dodge and apply an effect, at least in PvE, is actually quite interesting. In competitive modes, I really dislike that. Like, this is a really toxic design. If you have to dodge an enemy's dodge, I think that is really annoying. Like, Holosmith comes to mind, or one of the worst offenders of that is Vindicator. I think that is just a really, really annoying design. If you have to counterplay the enemy's defensive attack, it's not good. So I think that is, in competitive modes, a bit like problematic, but in PvE, I think it's really fun. You could make some really interesting builds where you like play a Daredevil or a Vindicator, and you know you need to dodge in this certain fight sometimes, and you actually get a lot of value by dodging nonetheless. I think that would be actually really interesting. I like those ideas. Yeah, we will have to see. Maybe they come up with some crazy ideas and crazy animations even, you know? You never know. But maybe you have some cool ideas as well, you know? Don't be shy. If you have some interesting ideas about relics, let us know and we can talk about it. I am always excited to have some new build crafting going on. Maybe have some ideas that I did not even consider and maybe is what I actually dreamed of, you know? Who knows? So, only a little bit longer here. I personally love a farming relic to give quickness while you're gathering. That's a very interesting one. That would obviously be only useful. I think that is a really interesting concept, that you give players a relic that is essentially useless in combat and only works for gathering. I'm not sure if they want to do that because they have the gathering cliffs that can speed up your gathering, and that would be a bit like weird if that would be not like additive or something. But if it would be additive, I think that would be a really interesting relic. Just I don't know. The problem is like relics are combat effects typically. So how would that work with gathering? I like the idea. I'm not sure how they would implement it though. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, you can have the quickness. You have something like a Herald or something that applies quickness passively. Then you have the same effect. But I think it would be interesting to make that accessible for every class just by equipping the relic. I think I think, to be honest, that could be something they do. I think they might have to make it something like Relic of Foraging or something like that, and then you could not only include that you get quickness when you gather, but you should maybe also get, for example, maybe like 25% more rewards or something. That is, so to say, a relic that you want to equip. Nah, I don't know. The problem is you don't want to make it a relic that people... We had that in the beginning of the game with Magic Find gear, which increased the Magic Find, but you lost, so to say, gear stats that you would otherwise have, like power or something. So that would be the same for the relic. It would, so to say, make your build worse to get more rewards or to get the rewards faster. I think that you have to be really careful. You should not like make rewards based on the gear you have. That is very toxic in Guild Wars 2. You will, yeah, I think you have to be careful. I like the idea, but I'm not sure if ArenaNet is like willing to do that. Yeah. Welcome, Varo Tempest. Welcome, welcome. I've been looking into Necromancer. How is it? Is it generally like a class that are complex and have a high skill ceiling? No, Necromancer is one of the, I would say, rather easy to learn classes with a really good like level of usability in all game modes. I would say, like, if you're like the class fantasy, Necromancer is really good. Yeah, can recommend it. Yeah, it's quite beginner friendly and pretty strong in all game modes, and that's why so many people play it. Yeah. Only reason I main Revenant is so I don't have to switch to a different character to Garda just for quickness health. Yeah, I mean that's a fair argument, you know. Definitely a good use case of your Herald, you know. In a lot of open world, Herald can be really good. In a lot of other cases, maybe not as good, but that is fine. Yeah. A relic that gives you buffs when you drink an item that intoxicates you. That would be a very roleplay relic. I mean, who knows? Maybe. I think the problem is that they have always to balance roleplay aspects of a certain relic with the actual usability of a certain relic. So for example, like relics like this would be very fun, but essentially no one would use it because it doesn't provide value like relics that just give you a 5% damage buff. So you have to be like very careful as ArenaNet to make something that is interesting, has a fun concept, but also actually affects gameplay in a positive way. I don't know. We have to see what they cook up. I was thinking I hated to be on my Revenant to passively pulse quickness. Yeah, I mean, I think like this is, for me personally, I think it's okay to have builds like that, but you can see I'm playing like, for example, Chronomancer right now. It's just a class that I like to play more than Quickness Herald in a lot of times, because Quickness Herald is very passive, and I'm just, my monkey brain is about like pressing buttons, so I can understand that statement for sure as well, that you want to be more active. And I think that's the whole point about my relic decisions earlier, that I think more passive relics is not the way. I think the way is more active relics, something that gives you, I don't know, a reason to alter your build in a certain way. And you don't have to do it if you just want to have like 2% damage less and an easier time. I think it's fine to use a passive relic, but I think you should get something for making your build decisions matter a bit more in a different way. Yeah. Maybe that's just me. Who knows? Like I said, ArenaNet has sometimes really good, crazy ideas and sometimes really crazy ideas that are just crazy and not really that crazy good. You can probably like the new relics are pretty unhinged in some of them. Like they even have animations, like crazy animations, like a wave or something like that. And they are not even that good, but they have animations. So I think if they like find relics that are worthwhile using and have an animation, I think a lot of people would actually use it. Welcome, Viz. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, I think like relics is a very cool and interesting topic to talk about, and I think ArenaNet is aware of it, but I think they could like do so much more. Like I mentioned it like in one of my latest streams, that I think it would be nice to also include more core relic options. I know a lot of players that want to play the game but don't have a certain expansion and cannot play the build because of the missing relic. I think it would be so nice to have more core relic options that not necessarily are crazy good, but at least they are good enough that people can actually use it as a alternative to the Visions of Eternity one or the Soto one or the Chante Wilds one. That would be, I think, a really big benefit. So my big hope would be that they say, okay, we do like maybe like, I don't know, 4 new expansion relics that are really good, and we do like 2 core relics that can be useful if you don't have the expansion relics. That would be, in my opinion, the dream, but I'm not sure. I think they really want to sell the expansions, and that is just obviously way better and way easier if you just make the expansion relics pretty solid on their own and you don't have any alternatives. Yeah, I understand it. Yeah, there are some relics that have animations. There are some relics that have that, but not that many. Not that many. No, core relics would be dope. Let us farm them by doing dungeons directly. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really, like, I don't want to go too detailed into how to acquire them, because, like, I think you can always, core relics by design can be traded. So that could be something that you, like, maybe farm them via dungeons, but you can then sell them, maybe something like that. I don't know, but I think it would be nice to at least make something valuable for players that don't have all the expansions. Yeah, because right now, if you play a Condi build and you want to play a build without the Soto Fractal relic, it's pretty much like what relic are you choosing? Like, there is either a defensive relic or you chose like a straight up power relic, which does not really help your build that much. I don't know. I think core relics are a bit like lacking. Yeah. Weakness Herald is underappreciated in my opinion. Easy to play, okayish damage, and you can scale the damage with how you play it, from super easy to still easy, but that's not as much. Yeah, I think that's like slight teaser here. I have a low intensity Herald build guide coming up this week, or yeah, in the next few days, and it is insane how good that is. Like, there is a low intensity Herald build that does almost essentially the same damage as a full-fledged meta build. Yeah, it's actually crazy right now. A Herald is really underrated. Yeah. Core gearing overall is a problem. Not being able to buy runes and sigils is a bonkers decision. Yeah, that is definitely crazy. Yeah, it really is crazy. Yeah, or Relic of the Pyro Queen, exactly. Or that one. Yeah, or that one. So, Condi relics also lacking a bit in my opinion. Power have way more options. Yeah, I think that is something that I mentioned earlier, that especially Fractal Relic in PvE, but also in competitive modes even, you don't have any options. What are the options for relics that you choose like regularly? You know, if you want to play a power build, you choose like Claw Relic, yeah? You choose like Fireworks Relic. You choose like, maybe even if you really wanted to, you can go a Thief Relic, yeah? Or Eagle Relic. There are like, I already mentioned like 4 or 5 power damage relics that you can easily use on almost every power build. If you're looking at a Condi build, you have essentially 3 relics that you can use. You have a Fractal Relic, you have, where is it? No, okay, cannot show it. You have a Kim Relic, and then you can go for some kind of defensive relic that is also okay. But it's really like, Condi relics are so rigid, and that's so sad, even in competitive modes. Maybe if you really wanted to, you can go Blightbringer Relic or something if you play a lot of poison or something. Maybe Demon Queen, which is not really considered a Condi relic, it's more of a utility relic, I would say. But still, this is, it's just crazy to me. It's just, I think there are so many relics and so many of them are just pretty bad. Like, I really hope they buff some relics. That would already like be a big benefit, or change some of them completely. Yeah. How do I get the Claw Relic? You can either get it from the World vs. World vendor, if you play a lot of, or decent amount of World vs. World, and if you don't do that, you can get it from the Soto some achievements. Yeah, I covered it on my YouTube video about the relics when it came out. What about a relic that gives a damage increase for how much of your armor is dyed in pink? It seems oddly specific. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the problem, is a lot of times core builds are not even using a lot of core things anymore. Like, if you use, like, for example, Core Thief does 40k or 42k DPS right now. It's one of the best, it's the best core build, like core class. Core Thief 42k DPS, yeah? The problem is you're using like essentially like 2, maybe something like that, expansions to make that work. At least one, at least. You need to use the Soto expansion. So how core is it actually? Is it a core build just because you're playing a core class? Or is it like if you require like all the different gear aspects? it's not really core anymore. And I think that goes for a lot of like core classes nowadays. I don't know. Really weird. Really weird. I think that's just the marketing to sell expansions at this point. Yeah. What about builds that require certain relic? How do you feel about that? Like power conduit using Relic of Pater? So I think it's okay to have relics that push a build to a really high level. So for example, if like Relic of Pater is making power conduit viable as a really good DPS build, I think it's okay that you need to have this relic. On the other hand, I think it's really sad if you essentially have to have this relic, otherwise you cannot play power conduit because the damage otherwise would be so bad. I think you have to find a sweet spot there. So that is nice to use a certain relic, but it's not a must-have to play this build, because I think it's really toxic to create a power-based build from ArenaNet. Let's say conduit is like, by design, they want to have it a power-based conduit be viable. But they already know that power conduit is only playable if you use a certain relic, because it gives you such a big damage buff that they have to nerf everything else down if you don't run this relic. This is like really weird. Like, I don't know. I think you have to find a sweet spot there, and I think ArenaNet nowadays is okay with it. But I don't know. It's not ideal. I think it's better to have like a relic that shines on a build, but it's not completely so good that you cannot use it at all anymore. Yeah. That's my opinion. Yeah. I would say Core Guard and Elementalist are the best to use, which can also deal a lot of damage. I think there are a lot of low intensity core builds that are actually decent, but I agree with you that Core Guardian is probably one of the best. Maybe Core Elementalist is also there, but I think Core Elementalist is the problem is like it's more spammy. It's less low intensity if you want to get to the really high numbers, and it doesn't have that much utility compared to Guardian. So I think Guardian is probably the winner, but yeah, it doesn't really matter in a lot of cases. Even if they use core stuff, you often can't buy the stuff. Exactly, that's really weird. Like one of the weirdest aspects of Guild Wars 2's core design, like core, what you get with the core game, is that you essentially have like some things locked from you because you don't have the expansions, which is really weird, because why does a trading post item have expansion locks? That's just a bit like weird for Guild Wars 2 design. I don't know. I think they have to look at it. They improved that a bit. I think you can now purchase like Berserker gear. I think even Viper gear and stuff like that. So some gear types are now easier to get, but they're of course like still expensive, but at least you can get them. Yeah. What about a relic that increases condition damage? Based on how many unique conditions you apply? That is interesting. I would like that. That is a cool concept. So it's like, for example, you get a 1% condition damage increase, or maybe let's say you get 0.5% condition damage increase or something per unique condition that you applied in the last 5 seconds. That would be very interesting. That would be in competitive modes pretty bad, I guess, but in PvE that would be a really I like that idea a lot. That is a cool idea. That would make you think about your build and your sigils. Yeah. Yeah. That is a cool idea. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. If you're Thrush level 80 power class, I'd always say get yourself the Devona or similar gear. Berserker and okayish rune, but can't buy that on a core. Yeah, it's like core purchasing. If you have really like free-to-play purchasing is really locked. It's really really limited. That is a problem. That is a big problem for sure. But that's why I always stress that if a new player comes into the chat and asks, is Guild Wars 2 a good game? I say, yes, it's a good game, but it's not free to play. You know, they market it as free to play, but essentially it's a free trial that you have. And you are really heavily restricted to purchase at some point any expansion. You know, that's just how the game is designed. So if you're a real free to play account, like a core account, we don't have any expansions, then you can play the game, you have some fun with it, but you cannot purchase like anything that is on the trading post that is like top meta and stuff like that. And that's why I would say it's more like a free trial. That's my argument there. Yeah. Isn't there a karma vendor for Berserker gear? Good question. Good question. Yeah. I think like Karma is, there might be a vendor where you can purchase like level 78 Berserker gear. I'm actually, like, I have to be honest, I'm so out of the loop. The last time I purchased any exotic gear was like on my Zero to Hero account, and I obviously had an expansion there, so I don't even know how the core performance is. Maybe you have to go like make a Zero to Hero challenge on your core account and free to play and want to get into raids or something. That would, you cannot get into raids either because it's not core. I don't know. I think the game is heavily restricted if you don't purchase any expansions. That's just how it is designed. They want you to purchase and spend some even if it's just one expansion, they want you to spend real money on the game. And I think that's fair. You know, it's such a big game. You know, when it came out, I think we had it last stream when Guild Wars 2 came out in 2012. It was like over $50. You know, it's so crazy that people expect that the core game is now free, like completely as it was back then. Like this is already like, we are very, very close to that, but we are not there. So I think that is, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It's a really big game, and you get like essentially like the whole game for free. The core game that was previously like $50 to $60 or something. It's crazy. Yeah. Shouldn't you be able to get onto quick play rates on a core? It says that you can join regardless of expansion ownership. I think you can join in the quick play rates. That is correct. But that is the point again. Is that even rates, quick play? Like quick play rates, is that even rates? Because you just get the old strike missions. You know, it's not essentially an actual raid encounter in there. It's not Veil Guardian or something. I don't know. I feel like to get into raids, you probably have to essentially own an expansion that has a raid. You know, like Heart of Thorns, Wing 1 to 4, and maybe Wing 5 to 7 with Part of Fire. Maybe something like that. That's more realistic. Just started End of Dragons. Loving it so far? Yes, it's a great expansion. It's awesome. One of the best, if not the best expansion. Yeah, extremely good. You have some really nice stuff ahead of you. It's really good. Yeah. No spoilers, but it's a really good expansion. Even the story is exciting. Yeah. Yeah, honesty is important. That is true. Yeah. Honesty is very important. What about a relic that replaces the condition you apply with 3 random conditions every X seconds? It sounds like a complete, like gambling relic. That would be very fun in competitive modes. That would be like to play, not to counterplay. To counterplay would be horrible. But I think it would be fun to have some kind of random relic that is actually like decent. No, like Antiquary has some RNG in it. Why not make Relic of the Antiquary or something? And makes it so that, I don't know, maybe a little bit like, I don't know, you have to be careful, you know, it cannot be like a crazy DPS relic, but maybe, I don't know, something funny with RNG. I think you could make a relic of the Antiquary. That would be interesting. It doesn't need to be the best in slot. It could just be something that is fun to use. I like the idea of that, like some RNG, not crazy, not like you have to get it done to play at the highest level, but a little bit, you know, that would be fun. Yeah. Herald or Troubadour, which one is better support in your opinion? Definitely Troubadour. Like Troubadour is way better. Like Troubadour has really good healing, has really good like utility with distortion share. Herald is easy to play, but it's as a healer very bad. You should not play heal Herald. I think, no, not very bad, but pretty bad. Because it's very passive, it's not very flexible. Troubadour is just the opposite, I would say. Definitely go for Troubadour, I would say, if you like the design. Not saying that Herald is not unplayable, don't get me wrong. I think Herald as a healer is okay. But if you compare to Troubadour, like I can swap to Troubadour actually here and showcase it. Where is it? Yeah, let's go for that. You see on Troubadour, I can go for like this distortion share. I can go for CC. I can go for 2 stability skills. I have quickness with essentially 1 button. And I have like a lot of barrier. I have like distortion to block attacks. I have a lot of blocks. I have like even more barrier and CC. It's like, what doesn't Troubadour have? And Herald is like, you can do almost all the things as well, but not at the same time. And that's the big issue. Herald is, I made a whole video about why I think Revenant has a problem as a design problem, is that you are locked into legends, meaning that you are not flexible to go and get stability, reflex, healing, CC, it's really hard to get all of that into one kit because you're locked into certain legends and you have to swap them all the time. Yeah. This is definitely something that needs to be like maybe improved if you want to have some kind of healer Revenant. You know, the best healer Revenant right now is Conduit, and even that one is not like crazy good. Yeah. Get the musical notes and clones dots into a region of the screen. I actively look and I will play Mesmer. So where would you put it? Like somewhere in the middle? I mean, that's in general, I think that you would solve this issue by solving one of the way bigger issues, in my opinion, by making the UI customizable, you know? Why this like illusions and nodes count? This could easily be like customizable. Like in any other big MMO, you can go into your options and change where you have your health bar. You can change where you have your gauge or whatever you use, you know, to fill up some currency, energy, whatever. And you can put that in the middle of the screen. You can put it in the top left corner if you wanted to. And Guild Wars 2 doesn't have that. And that's one of the biggest issues for new players, but also for veterans to get into Guild Wars 2 and like the game, because it's very rigid in the UI. And that would not only solve Mesmer for you specifically, but it would also help players that just want to optimize or change stuff around, make it more accessible for them. I am accustomed to this kind of like UI. I know that because I played the game for way too long, but it's not really recommended that you play the game for that long to actually reach that. Yeah, I would say it's way better to just say, okay, in the first few minutes you change your UI to something that is actually working for you, and then it's good. Thanks a lot, Em. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the resub with the Prime. 2 months. Thanks a lot. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Still. Yeah. Yeah, I think that like, the positioning here, like, I'm not saying that I'm personally uncomfortable with it, but I think I can definitely see where you're getting from. Like, this is something that, like, changing, like, how many layers of UI you have on top of each other, just putting it somewhere in the middle of the screen is way easier to see. Yeah, for sure. For me, it's more like I don't always look at the clones and stuff like that. It's more like I know how many I have up just because I use their text and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely understand this argument for sure. But yeah, I think that is probably one of the main criticisms. If I would have to point out what's not the best about Guild Wars 2, is probably that it's very, like, the UI is a bit old and maybe outdated. It's not like as flexible as other MMOs start with. And Guild Wars 2 is like 13 years at this, or 14 years soon. It's pretty crazy to me. Yeah. And I think, I have to be honest here, I think they will never fix it. I think maybe when they put out a new game, sure, but for now, I don't see a world where ArenaNet ever changes how UI is customizable. They would have done it a long time ago. I have to be honest, yeah. That's the sad truth here. Sure, when I got there, it's instantly done. What about Quickness DPS Herald? Still viable? Was literally about to learn that for raid stuff. I think Quickness DPS Herald is really good. Like Power DPS Quickness Herald, I would say is one of those where I would recommend you to give it a try if you like the design of it, because it's really good. Like it's one of those that is really good to get into raids because it's very safe, it's very easy to play, and surprisingly strong in real encounters. It doesn't have the highest numbers, never had the highest numbers for DPS, but in real fights that doesn't matter because it's so easy to perform on that in a real fight you will probably still be a really good DPS like player compared to other like harder to play builds. Like looking at, I don't know, anything that is like more rotation based is probably in a real fight, in a puck scenario at least, not able to upkeep the damage as a Herald would be. Yeah. When is the Dragon Stand event? You can check always by typing in the chat. You can always type in the chat in Guild Wars 2 wiki and then ET. If you type this event timer, so abbreviated ET, then you will open the browser and you will see when the Dragon Stand is happening and all the other time scheduled events. Yeah, Wiki ET, really good command. Highly recommend. So I tried playing Alacrity DPS Scourge, which has kind of good DPS according to benchmarks. Really struggle with it. Playing Herald for 5 minutes, 80% benchmark. Yeah, exactly. It's like the problem with Scourge, or in general builds that are, so to say, easy to play but need still a lot of button presses, is that you still need to have a lot, and I mean a lot, of like knowledge which attack comes off cooldown when. Do you press it now or do you use the other attack first? Scourge is like one of the prime examples of this. It's like you spam all your buttons off cooldown, but what happens when you have 2 buttons coming off cooldown rather at the same time? Which one do you use? So it's like way harder to play than Herald, for example. Because on Herald you have like essentially like 5 buttons that you spam. So yeah, definitely, I know the issue, for sure. Looking at the Gluttony Willbender for 100 CM, in a comment you said it's the best, but could swap Seal in. What would you swap it in for and what traits? So Seal has a trait now that gives you on, I think it's F1 usage, symbol. And you would swap that in instead of Radiance, I would say. So you go Seal and Honor, I think, so that you get crazy amounts of symbols. Because the only reason why you play a Gluttony Willbender in 100 CM is that you have insane amount of multi-hit attacks. You put down like 5 symbols and you hit with your F1 like 50 times. And that all scales up your lifesteal. That's the reason. So Seal gives you now more value than Radiance in terms of like raw multi-hits. And that's why I would go for this one instead. I still have to test it a bit more, but I think that would be the build, like Seal and Honor or something like that. And then you go for like 2-2-3. I think that's the setup in Seal. So middle button. That is, I think, the setup for the Willbender build that I would recommend. But you can of course still run the old one. It's not worse, you know. It's just the new one is maybe even better. Yeah. Exactly, symbol of lesser blades. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's fun to me that like this already insanely good build on 100 CM got even better. It's like, what build comes even close to a Gluttony Willbender as a Gluttony collector? It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just played the game for way too long. You know, that's if you play the game for that many hours and you have almost nothing else in your brain than just talking about build crafting and stuff like that, you would also have the ability to do that on top of your head. Yeah. But I mean, glad that I can help. I think like I am a bit torn, you know, like for people that don't know, in 100 CM, so in the last fractal with the challenge mode on, you have a very specific mechanic, which is called Gluttony. And that means you collect some orbs. And if you collect those orbs, you get a buff that will make all your attacks deal lifesteal damage. That doesn't scale with power. And you just have to hit the enemy and it does lifesteal damage. And if you hit it multiple times, it does multiple lifesteal hits. So you want to have just as many multi-hits as possible. That is a very interesting mechanic. And I really like the design of stuff like that because it needs you to think about what build am I actually running there to make this really, really good. But it also locks certain classes completely out of it. So some classes are just slower paced than others. Some classes have extremely high amounts of multi-hits. So I think it's like, I'm a bit torn if that's a good design of a new encounter or if you want to have something that can be done by every class and is actually somewhat similarly well done. But I think like nowadays, like if you don't run a Gluttony Willbender, you make your like this fractal like probably 10 times harder. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Good luck. Hopefully you will get it done. It's not that hard, especially with the nerfs to the health HP pools last like 2 weeks ago or something, where you get like now like essentially the, I don't know, it's like 30% to 50%. I don't know the exact numbers anymore, but it's like pretty significant health pool decrease of epoch. Yeah. How does the Wizard's Vault preference setting work? That is a really interesting setting, yeah. So let's talk about it. So if you change your preference here, this will, you can see this here, they are either reflected immediately if you did nothing in this week or this day, yeah, or when the next reset is happening. So if you, right now, I already did some of my weeklies, I did some the dailies completely. Yeah, if I change something, it will change tomorrow, or for the weekly, it will change on Monday. If I did not complete anything yet, then I could change it and it would instantly change it, which is really cool because then you can see the task, for example, for PvE, and you see, oh, I don't want to do this, I cannot do that, whatever. You can swap it to PvP or World vs. World on the fly and you will see instantly what's going on. Hope that makes sense. I had to solo the Forging Steel here. Yeah, you can solo this one. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the best experience because it takes quite a while, but you can do it. Like, I just do it here before the weekly. I want to get some magnetite shards, and it's also very easy while we can talk about stuff. So that's the main reason why I do it here on stream just once a week and talk about something. Don't have to concentrate too much on it, but you can solo it. It's I would say, wouldn't recommend doing it if you find people. Nowadays it's way easier to find them than before because it gives so many magnetite shards and it's also pretty easy. But yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, sure, why not? Why not? I checked marked only PvE and it auto-ticked everything back. That's weird. I'm not sure. Maybe, I mean, you have to click confirm. Maybe that was the issue. I don't know. Normally it should work. I tried it before and it worked for me. Like, I don't know. Yeah, 100 deep. Like the thing is, 100 CM in Fractals is one of the weirdest challenge modes because it is essentially a skills check in terms of can you actually deal enough damage to make this fight like really easy, or do you not have enough damage and you essentially make your life really, really miserable? Because 100 CM, that's the weird part. The boss itself is not challenging. The boss itself is not the problem. For me, 100 CM is a fight where if you know how to deal with the mechanics, is essentially like you going from one split phase to another split phase. You burst the boss down very, very fast, and it's just about can you handle the ads fast enough to actually make the boss fight decently easy. Yeah, as long as you have a good gluttony and rage player, you have really good DPS and everything is fine. But if you lose your rage and your gluttony and just have essentially nothing, no one like dealing damage anymore, then this fight becomes horrible because it just is like really, really hard to handle at some point. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you will notice if you want to clear it for the first time, I would say just expect some patience and some learning experience and you will probably be fine. Probably be fine. Could Amalgam be good for gluttony? Yeah, Amalgam is probably one of the best ones after Willbender. But Willbender is just, I would recommend going for Willbender just because you also have such immense amount of safety with it, you know. It has stability, it can provide utility, it has a lot of CC. You know, Amalgam, yeah, sure, you can do that, but I think it's not as good as Willbender is, and why would you make yourself like a harder challenge if you can play Willbender in the first place? Yeah, if you cannot play it, then sure, go for Amalgam and it will be okay, but it will not be as good in my opinion. Yeah. Okay, so I think it's time to actually talk about the different things that we wanted to talk about regarding the next patch. So let me bring it up. Give me a second. There we go. This is what I wanted to talk about. So we have a couple of, you should see that now here. Yep. A couple of news snippets, and I wanted to talk about them and actually showcase them here on stream and give you my take on it, what they are, and you can also look them up for yourself. So you can always see that in the exclamation mark news command, or you can also scroll down in the YouTube chat if you want to see it, or not chat, in the YouTube description. I have linked it there as well. So give me a second. So that's what I wanted to do. We have a small trailer here. Wait, one question here from Banjo. For benchmarks, I'm supposed to put condies on the golem, right? So yeah, for benchmarking in general, you should put golem, like conditions on the golem. But if you're specifically talking about Gluttony Willbender, the benchmark, you cannot benchmark Gluttony Willbender because it doesn't even show up on arc DPS other than your self stats. So it's really like for Gluttony Willbender, that's you just press every button of cooldown. That's pretty much it. You want to just get as many attacks out as possible. Okay, so let's talk quickly or showcase some of this stuff. So this is from X here, from ArenaNet. We have a small teaser here about like Tunnels of the Forsaken update in Reforged. So if you're into Guild Wars 1, you get some news here. But I will just showcase it here because some news for the Guild Wars 1 fans out there. And that's the introduction, so to say, of what I want to showcase here today in this news summary. Because we actually got a lot of news. We got a lot of news. And let's go for the other ones. Which ones do we start? I guess we have this one here. Visions of Eternity, this journey so far. This is like a 4-minute long. We can leave it running in the background, I guess. Give me a sec while I talk a bit about it. But that's please, if you haven't played Visions of Eternity, this is obviously a spoiler. But it is essentially a trailer or teaser for what happened and will tell you, so to say, what the story is in the background. So this is something that is actually very interesting, that they are building up to the story so much with the trailer here, or summary, yeah. This is very interesting to me. They don't show anything new in this trailer here, but the interesting part here is that if you do something like that, you would expect that there is a rather big story, like progression, like continuation going on, and I think this is actually what's gonna happen. Yeah, you see that they show a lot of like the story of like Isgaren and like the enemy that we have with like vlogs and stuff like that. That is very interesting. So I will not like, you can watch it yourself if you want to hear all the story here, but it's just a summary. It's not something that is like insanely like crazy good. But now we get to the good part. Yeah, there might be some unexpected stuff incoming as well. I'm not gonna watch it completely or something and not spoiler you. The important part here is that we have a rather long 4-minute video of ArenaNet about the story, what happened so far. I guess it's mostly because it's 6 months since the release of the Visions of Eternity expansion. We didn't get any more news, so this is something that is definitely like, yeah, maybe people forgot what happened because it's 6 months ago, yeah. But this is one of the things. So definitely, that's one of the things that we have here. But we have more news. Like I said, we have like two tabs covered from like essentially 7 tabs. So I want to talk about all of them. But this is, if you don't want to hear the story, this is the part where I talk about the story here. But we will get some slight spoilers here with the next shorts from other partners that have access to that as well. But in general, it's like mostly about the map and stuff like that. Yeah. The current expansions feels more like the old Living World seasons to me. I think that's actually not that far off. I'm with you there. I really think so. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. What we have here, the Visions of Eternity updates adds a lot. So let's see what it adds.
Goes bigger and deeper with not
Is the sound actually good enough?
Legendary items. A new map where you update goes bigger and deeper with not 1 but 2 legendary items. A new map where you can find a mini dungeon, a jumping puzzle.
That is actually quite crazy. So we get the new legendaries and we get a mini dungeon on the new map. This is something very surprising. A mini dungeon. When was the last time we got a mini dungeon? So this is like this puzzle-based, like solving some mysterious riddles and stuff like that in the open world. When was the last time, like with End of Dragons? I guess I'm not into that stuff too much, but I think that was the last time. So this is actually quite crazy that we get that. And of course a jumping puzzle here.
Puzzle, adventures, and a major map meta event. Hidden away in a stunning cavern is also a new ranger pet. You can
So we get a new ranger pet. That is not surprising. That's almost always guaranteed.
Also find new rewards, a Wizard's Vault refresh, and the story continues the pursuit of locks with 5 new chapters. Stay tuned as the vision.
Yeah, so we get like essentially what we already knew, some story progress, a new map, legendaries and stuff like that. But with the mini dungeon, the jumping puzzles and stuff like that is big, like for me, a bit of a surprise and a positive one at that. Yeah. So that is already quite cool. But now let's take a look at the legendaries, because that's for me something that is quite interesting. The legendary accessories, we get 2 of with the new legendary. Let's check it out. And the sound here is not that important. See the World vs. World legendary, and apparently the draw animation is actually pretty like noticeable. Yeah, so you definitely see here. And I think the interesting part here is I'm pretty sure it has scaling. I think this scales here in terms of how much it looks, I would guess, by the World vs. World rank. Maybe. That is not confirmed. Please don't quote me on this, but look at how this scales up. You know, this is not the same look of that. But this, it's kill. Okay, that makes sense. It's on the amount of kills. Okay, that is, but you know that it scales up how many kills you have. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah, I think the animations are pretty big here. And you have also like the altered, like ghostly siege items. I think that is very unique. This is very, very unique for a legendary to alter items. Like, this is like very cool. I have to be honest, it might be a bit too flashy for me personally, but for people that like it, I don't know. I don't know. We have to see. Like, I don't know the effects about how everything works. Yeah. So if you die, it resets back to the first one. That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. So it's like a bloodlust stacking sigil. Okay, I mean, interesting. And like I said, it's not my favorite from the looks, but it's definitely crazy animated. So if you're looking for something flashy, that's about it. And then we have the PvE one, Stellar Radiance. This is way less exciting in terms of looks. It's just like a halo a bit, something like that. It has an interesting like look. If you look at it, it is always somewhat behind or next to your character. So if you turn, it always has like this like float. It's turning with you. But I don't know. I think it's like not the most flashy one. So for people that like it, I don't know. I think like interesting for people that want to get a legendary. I'm not sure if I would like say, oh my god, that's the skin I equip on every of my characters now. But I guess at least we know how it looks now. And if you're excited for it, that's great. If not, at least you can get a legendary if you wanted to. So I think that's quite cool that they show us this here in the trailer. This is another thing that will come with the Visions of Eternity expansion and update. Yeah. Okay, so then that we will quickly take a look at Mukluk's short, because he will quickly, I think, cover how to get it. Pretty sure, like
Wars 2 has given me a sneak peek at the upcoming legendary accessory Stellar Radiance to share with you. In the next major update titled The Only Way, they are introducing 2 new legendary accessories to the game. This one focused on PvE.
Yeah, so you can see the interesting part here is what I noticed is that this is 2 accessories that you can get. And now the interesting part here is there is a 0 out of 1. That means that you cannot have 2 of them. So they are unique as far as I understand it from here. So you cannot go for 2 of them. So if you want to get like 2 World vs. World accessories, too bad. That's apparently not possible, at least how it looks here, because you cannot have like 2 of them. I'm pretty sure, maybe, who knows? Maybe you can get 2 and this is just not, he didn't unlock it here, but maybe you can get 2 from World vs. World, but I'm not sure how it works. If it's for PvE the same or not, but that is very interesting to note here, that like we don't know if it's like 2 for both of them or not, but I guess PvE, I would be surprised if PvE would be like you can get 2 of them, because we already have 2 PvE ones. We have the Aurora and Vision. So I'm not sure.
I'll be covering the World v World accessory in another short. Until now, the only way to get a legendary accessory was Aurora from Living World Season 3 or Vision from Living World Season 4. Soon, we will not only be able to acquire one from Visions of Eternity, but I'm told it will be possible to acquire Stellar Radiance twice.
Okay, so he says it here that you can get it twice. I'm not sure if that's like confirmed, but this is pretty interesting to me, that this will not be the case. That is like we have that with the ring, with the Endless Summer ring, and this one that you can get it actually twice from, so to say, the same grind, the same zone, which is very interesting to me because before we never had that. Like everything was, so to say, you had it once and you cannot get like 2 legendary raid rings. You cannot get 2 auroras. But now apparently they do it. I don't know what the change of heart here was, but
meaning if you enjoy the method of acquisition, you can fill both accessory slots for every character on your account with the Legendary Armory. When equipped, you get a glowing halo effect visible from all sides that will flash when entering combat. If you dislike the graphic, you can still keep all the stat benefits of the item and hide the halo by just unchecking the box in your inventory. We don't yet
so
know
nothing
the
special
recipe
there
for this item, but
as
I will
usual.
bet it will include a currency from the new zone coming out in the same update, the 3rd zone of Visions of Eternity, as well as the usual suspects such as Mystic Clovers and various trophies. So I recommend stocking.
Yes, so as usual, we need a lot of gold sinks and stuff like that. So nothing too special about the legendary itself, but I think it's very unique that it's not unique. That is crazy. We saw that with Endless Summer. Yes, Endless Summer is 100% not unique. I double stacked that, but I'm a bit like, what's the argument for that if there are already 2 open world legendaries out there? I think they just want to make Visions of Eternity more attractive as an expansion, because this is the expansion where you can get essentially full legendary trinkets with 2 rings, 2 accessories. For now, not amulet or back piece, but it's essentially like the 4 big ones you can get, from one expansion. So it's pretty crazy, to be honest. Pretty crazy. But I mean, I'm not like sad about it. I think it's nice, so more players get more legendaries. I guess that's good. But either way, I think I'm looking forward to getting it myself and showcasing it as well, or guiding you through the process. So what do we have here next?
You're going to find me. I'm glad. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. What's to say? I'm as eager to find out as you are. I've been pressing matters I couldn't ignore.
So the map looks pretty much like Starlit Welt. I would say, like, look at this. This is pretty similar to the Starlit Welt, like room where you are like in this like relic collecting stuff and stuff. But I think it's just more of the same, and I think that's good because it's fitting. It's the same like jungle theme island with like this mystic environment and like those old artifacts. I think I think that makes sense. It looks quite good. Yeah.
You'll see that I've been on your side all along. I haven't hidden anything from you, Commander. Let their people decide their future for themselves.
I'm not sure that's a new type of like enemy or animal or whatever. Yeah, it is definitely new. And it also looks a little bit more like autumn style trees, not as like alive or vivid summery as it is in Starlit Welt. So I think it's little bit of a different color scheme, but I think it looks nice. I think the new map, so from what this short shows, is actually quite interesting. Yeah. Probably started with Conflux, since World vs. World could only get 1 ring slot. They made it with non-unique, so we can have 2 of them. That is true. It started with Conflux, yeah. They wanted to probably make it more accessible for more players, I guess, yeah. For Visions Aurora, you not only need the expansion, you also need the Living World season, which is kind of pricey unless you go for the EOD complete package. Yeah, I think that is a good point. I think they really want to make Legendary something that is not locked behind like insane amount of like purchases with real money. They just want to make it so that you have the options depending on what you actually purchase. Because yes, there are veterans like me that have all the expansions and we just look at the Legendary and say, okay, this is the easiest to get. But if you don't have the expansions, it might have a real money tag on there as well. Yeah, good point. Yeah. I'm 100% of the opinion that getting the Dragon Saga Complete Edition on sale is one of the best values you can get. Yes, that is like probably no one would like say this is not true. I think if you get it for a really nice sale, you get like so many content pieces plus features that it's actually like unbeatable. Yeah, it's crazy. I think it should be unique, to be honest. This might impact Season 3 and 4 maps a lot and make them more empty. I think they are already quite empty, and I think that's pretty sad. I think, but the problem is you see that in a lot of MMOs. Like if you look at other games, it's always that the older content is less played than the newer ones. And in Guild Wars 2 with the Aurora and Vision, it actually fixed it to some extent that people always go there. But I think the problem is that you still have the free prismatic regalia, which you can get from there as well. But I guess I get your point. I think it would be, for me as a veteran, I think I would tend to agree that it is better if it's unique, because then you actually have, so to say, you have to choose out of 3 options, being the new one and the 2 old ones. You can go for 2 of them. And you don't have to, you can decide which one is the worst for you to get, and you don't go for that one. But I guess you're right. It's like, it's also pricey to get. I think it's really hard. I think it's hard for me to judge. It's their decision, and we cannot change it anyway, I guess. What do we have here? Adventures. Let's take a look at the adventures.
Be a new map without new adventures. We have 2 new single-player challenges releasing with the Visions of Eternity quarterly update number 2. First up is Kit Shark Fishing. The water is a bit
Interesting. Kit Shark Fishing. Okay, interesting adventure name.
Shark are hungry, so it's up for you to hunt for fish. But in order to do so, you must first turn into a kit shark yourself. And our second adventure is
okay, so interesting collecting adventure, I guess. Yeah.
Relics. Help sort through the rubble with your skimmer, looking for relics the Priory can use.
Okay,
However,
okay.
there
And another
are
one
some
is like
hazards in the halls to watch out for. Stay tuned.
a puzzle-based skimmer relic hunt with adventures. So interesting. Yeah, that was a very ugly shark, I agree. But yeah, I think like adventures are nice. I think one of the adventures in Starlit World is horribly hard, or at least was horribly hard at launch. So I think like the adventures can be fun if they are nicely tuned. If it's too easy or too hard, it can be a bit of a problem, but I think they look actually somewhat exciting. We have to see. Yeah. So let's see, what is this? We have this one, and now here's the summary of everything in one piece.
Dropping a massive load of content for their new patch, The Only Way. This is coming May 12th, and this is everything that's coming along with it. First, we have a brand new map. We have
new map, new mastery. We don't know what the masteries are, probably related to the new map. I would be surprised if it would be something like crazy, like gliding or stuff like that. I highly doubt it. I'm pretty sure it's not, but it will probably just be like some boring more loot mastery or something.
We have 2 new legendaries. We have a massive new meta.
Yeah, this is the thing that we didn't see yet. It's the meta event. You can see here the meta event. It looks really interesting, like some kind of mysterious like platform into like I don't know. I can't even describe what that is. Like some orange mystical fog or something. Looks really cool, really like exciting. I have no clue what it will be and what the story is, but this looks probably like something that I will do a lot on stream when it comes out. So we have to see. We have to see. Yeah, the floor is lava. Maybe, who knows? I'm not sure. I'm excited. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Zach. Then you are correct. Yeah, I think you also says it. I'm pretty sure. So I think that we are pretty sure now that it's like. The legendaries are, you can get 2 of them for both. Yes, that is true. But I'm excited for the meta event. I think that looks nice. We don't know anything how it works. I hope it is also gameplay-wise interesting and not just from the looks of it and not too sluggish. I think that is the big problem for me. If a meta event is long but has a lot of different things like Dragon's Stand or Dragon's End, I think it's okay, or really good. But if a meta event is like Starlit World one, where you have like a boss fight that just takes forever, that is not good. I think you have to find a sweet spot there, and I hope that it looks really good. Yeah. So
new weapon skins and emotes and more. We're hunting Vlox, of course, the Inquest Kingpin, who legit has such a sultry voice that he could probably lure me into an unmarked white van pretty easily. The story really heats up fast.
So the story continues, of course, and
that we were finding, and
looks like similar map design for sure.
Why he's just generally grumpy about it.
Some story here as well.
One of my favorite things about this that was
a new dagger skin. Nice, very good, very good. New weapon skins. No more training dummy boss with HP pool out of this world would be nice. Yeah, I agree. I think that is the biggest like how the biggest hope for this like meta event for sure. Welcome, Tasha. Welcome. In general, yeah, I think like it looks good so far. Like what we saw here.
Brand new dagger that instead of
I'm not completely convinced yet in terms of longevity of this meta or in general design. New ranger pet, which is the otter. That's nice. And this is the coolest part I would say about for open world players. you have a chance, a super rare chance of the meta event to drop this mount skin, which is actually looking really cool, really unique. And I think that's really nice that you have a mount skin that is locked behind a piece of content in the actual game that almost everybody can play. This is really nice. It's not a prestigious drop at all because you just have to do the meta event probably, but it's really nice of like a cool feeling. I'm not sure if it will be sellable. Probably not, because we don't have any sellable mount skins on the trading post. But that could be a way to make something that is like infusions. So infusions right now are sellable on the trading post and are one of the biggest like dopamine hits that you can get from meta events. Maybe this mount skin for the meta event is also sellable, and you have, so to say, something that everybody likes. Even people that don't want to have an infusion, you can still purchase it from the trading post if you have enough money. I think that would be nice. I'm not sure if it's possible though. So just saying here, we don't know it yet. And maybe it's just like for the raid mount skin that we have with the Doom Sky scale, that it is completely, you have to get it and you have no other way of getting it than just farming this meta event for a million times. We have to see. I think it's just very exciting that we get it in the first place. Looking forward to that for sure.
Super rare raptor skin. The action is live and it's wild.
Yeah, and then I think that's all of the news for today. I think we got all of them, and I'm excited. I'm definitely excited for it, and I have to be honest. I will cover all of it, hopefully, when it comes out, and hopefully it will be lasting longer than a couple of weeks. You know, that is my biggest hope there. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe we get the mount skin on the first try, and then the legendaries in the next weeks, and then it's just the meta event is not that exciting. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Looks actually quite a rather big patch, but who knows? You know, like the start of the expansions were always pretty solid. Then it fell off, you know, with the Bavanissos map, with all the other like follow-up patches. There was always a time where it fell off, for sure. Yeah. I like the Cloud Elgar skin as well. I agree. One of my old accounts, I'm currently working on Masters and Heart of Thorns, and even back then the difference is difficult. In the difficulty of adventures was crazy. Yeah, adventures are like a fun gimmick, a fun thing to have, but they are definitely far from perfect, for sure. The problem, the Raptor, is doesn't really matter with the Sky Scale, Griffin, or Roller Around. That is fair. It's a skin for the Raptor, which is not a very important mount, but you know, it's a mount skin. It's a mount skin, and we don't have any mount skins in the game except like 3 or so that you can get in game, which is like really nice to get like another one, you know. And it's a open world one, where mounts are actually mattering. You know, the mounts, the Sky Scale is from Doom, where you cannot even use a mount during the fight. So it's like, okay, this is like essentially where it matters. People want to use mounts in open world, so it's nice. It would be, of course, cooler if it would be some mount that is actually used a lot, like a skimmer skin, but maybe that will be in the last zone, you know? Maybe they do it with each release, expansion, big patch, quarterly patch. There will be one new mount skin that you can earn in game, and I think maybe the biggest one might be the skimmer because it's the featured mount of this expansion. Who knows? That's my guess, but who knows? Yeah. And I think the Raptor looks good. Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, I guess if there's an infusion in there, people would do it forever, but maybe even the mount skin. Like I said, if it's sellable, it will probably be really expensive, and people will still do it to get the big drop, even if they don't want to use it. Is Bavanissos even still a thing? I'm not even sure. I didn't like it when it came out. I played it a couple of times for achievements and like loot, and then I never did it again. So I don't even know. We can check if someone is doing it, but I don't even know. I have no clue. So right now, no one is doing it. And Mistborn Barons as well. I think it's like not a lot of people are excited about this map. Yeah. If sellable would be nice. I think like that would be really cool if you look at like infusion prices and stuff like that. Like Chuck infusion. It's like, I don't know, like 7K at least. Yeah. And if the mount skin is somewhat equally rare, that is a really big drop, even if you don't use the Raptor or don't like the skin. Yeah, so I think that would be interesting. And I know there are some arguments to say, okay, we want to have a skin that is like, you have to get it yourself, but that could lead to some really big frustration, you know, having a daily lockout of the meta event for the loot, and insanely low drop chances is probably not a good combination for like a rare drop. So I think it might be either you can farm it like 10 times a day, or you can really sell it. Like, we will see. But I'm actually excited nonetheless. I think that's one of the best news about this patch. Yeah. The problem again was that the last part took so long. The journey to the organs was fine. Hitting the organs with a stick, not so much. Yeah, I think the problem that I have with the Bavanissos map, we can actually go there and I can maybe show it a little bit. The problem that I have with this map, or with the meta event there, is twofold. I have two issues with the map of the Bavanissos or things, yeah. So, where is it? There. So, the problem that I have is, first of all, I'm with you. I think the end boss, you know, it's not even a boss, yeah. It is a boss where you hit like the structure and you get like pushed back. That's the essential end boss. And it's really bad. Like, the map is, I think, okay. It's not very exciting. But the problem that I have is that the structures are such a repeated part in this. Like, it's not only the end boss that is bad, but you have the structures beforehand. Then you have a really unexciting way to the end boss, which is okay if the end boss would be really good, but it isn't. And then I think you have the biggest issue that you have the Gorseval copy, which is actually, I think, a decent way of using a model again. But why is it at the beginning? That could have been the end boss, and it would have been so much better. You know, why is the end boss essentially the first thing you fight? Or the second thing? This is not good. It's definitely an issue. I think that they decided to go with this is, for me, a miracle, or like a, I don't know, mystery why they decided to do this in this way, in this order. And the second part, what I don't like about this meta, is that you have to use a lot of times like the Warclaw or the Siege Turtle to actually get some of those like rubble removed and stuff like that. I think that is forcing you to go on mounts during combat was a mistake that they did with the Giala Delves meta, that they did with like Amnitas meta, and they did here again. I think that is not healthy. I think Combat of Guild Wars 2 is insanely good. Why do you want to force players away from it just to make use out of a mount? I think the mounts are completely fine if you use them out of combat if you want to, but you should not be forced on mounts during combat for like extended periods of time. I think it's okay if they do it like in Mists of and Monsters meta event with like Decima and Greer, where you have to circle them for like a half a minute or something. I think that's okay. But if you are forced to clear rubble for 2, 3, 4 minutes on the mount, I think that's not a good design meta. You should like use the combat of the game, which is so good. Yeah, exactly. Gorsable should have been the final boss. Yeah. I remember after doing the meta for the first time, everyone was waiting and writing in the map chat, where's the final boss? Yeah, exactly. Like the second phase, you know? Where's the second phase? Where's the secret like thing that happens? And it just didn't happen. Everyone was disappointed. Yeah, exactly. Once you kill Gorsable too, you've pretty much won the meta if people split decently for 3 lanes. I'm not saying that it's necessary to have a hard meta. I just think the hard fight of a meta should be at the end. You know, you want to, it's not, there is a reason why you have an end boss at almost every single PC game, console game, whatever. It's the end should be cinematic, final. It should be fun and not like anticlimactic. That is just not like how you design games. So I think that's just weird. It's just weird. Yeah. I mean, Tasha, I'm not saying that Bavanissos is horrible. I think people are, when it came out, were like completely unhinged. I think Bavanissos is okay. I'm just saying what I think could have been better, way better here. And I think Starlit Welt is definitely not like insanely good either, but at least we have an end boss there, you know, that is clearly the end boss. Yeah. When is the next raid training? Not clear yet. We have to see, probably after the new patch releases, because we have a lot of things to cover here on stream as well. And we will have to see. That's out. We will have to see. Maybe if we can find enough people, we can do it earlier. But for now, I plan middle of May, end of May, something like that. Yeah. I'm not sure if a meta event has to be hard to beat. I'm not sure, but I think like it should at least be somewhat exciting. It should not be like having no fail state. I think there should be a little bit of a fail state so that people are actually excited to go in and try to somewhat to put on some I want to succeed. I want to actually play a bit like better, you know, like Octavine has a fail state, like Chuck Garrett had in the beginning a fail state. I think that's good, you know, you should have at least something and not like instant win. Yeah. That's just my opinion. Yeah, the excavators are not the best design. That is a fair point. The excavators are like with the pushing away mechanic, with like the rotating around and just random CCing. It's a bit annoying. I agree. It's annoying to fight, but I think the end boss is actually quite okay. Yeah. What are the top 3 metas in your opinion? I mean, I did a meta event tier list with Guardian. I did that like last week or something. I have that on my YouTube channel. You can check it out and you will have a really long 20-minute, 25-minute discussion about the best meta events. Yeah. And there you will also notice why I put Barbanissos very low. Yeah. So it's just my opinion. Yeah. Yeah. Hard meta is fine as long as the rewards are worth the time. Yes, for sure. That is definitely something that needs to be. Yeah, you know, if the rewards are really good and the meta is really hard, people complain. If the rewards are really bad and the meta is really hard, people complain. So how do you do it? I think essentially for most players, you have to find a sweet spot where the rewards are good enough that you do the meta almost every day, but at the same time, it's almost at like 90% plus fail rate. Success rates, rather, not fail rate. Yeah, that would be, in my opinion, probably the best way of doing it. But I agree with you that like having a hard meta event is something that is essentially pretty cool in the beginning as well, because it leads to you forming communities, forming subgroups, forming squads to actually tackle stuff that is normally in the open world pretty easy. I think there are arguments for both sides. And I think that's problem is just the Guild Wars 2 community is rather casual, and they would rather join just some random players that are on the map and succeed than having to actually go out of the way and finding a really well-organized squad. That's my impression. But I see the arguments for the other side as well. Drucker is really good. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Pinata? Yes, Pinata, exactly. 90% fail rate would be epic. Yeah, I misspoke. But in the beginning of End of Dragons, when Dragon's End came out, it had over 90% fail rate. Like, as far as I know, it was like at the launch of this like expansion, it was very rare that it succeeded compared to any other meta event. It was actually crazy. And it was actually required for some, I think it was even required for some story steps or something. So it was pretty tough. They nerfed it down and nerfed it and nerfed it, and now it's way easier. But it still fails to this day at some point, yeah. Yeah, I think End of Dragons was probably, together with Heart of Thorns, the best meta event expansion, yeah. Yeah. So one meta was extremely good. I think it's a really interesting aspect that we have here brought up by Pizza Hut. I think like, how would you make it so that players that are actually excited to play a certain challenge, you know, in open world, are not, so to say, playing against the really hard, like, casuals that are there for the rewards, that just want to have fun and succeed all the time. How do you make that possible? I think the best way of doing that is making guild events, like we saw with Take Wattle and stuff like that, where you specifically can spawn a certain boss, maybe even in an instance of this map, and do this then. And do the boss in a challenge mode. That would be probably like they do it with convergence CMs and make them good rewards. That's probably the best way of doing it. But I think that would again split a player base that you don't really want to split, because then you have less population for both of them. I think this is, and it's obviously a lot of development time. So I don't know. I think for me personally, it seems like it's unrealistic, but maybe that's just me. Yeah, maybe that's just me. I miss the old hard End of Dragons meta events before they make it so easy. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. It was definitely way more interesting than it is nowadays. I I liked it back then as well. I'm not saying the other thing nowadays is like horribly bad, but yeah, that's just my thing. By the way, this we are testing here the core elementalist that you so desperately wanted for me to try. I'm not even sure. I think it's not even a good build right now. I have to think about it more. It's not feeling good. It's way too defensive. I don't have any aggressiveness. Yeah, it's Celestial, but it's not really like not working that way. Kata is way better with it. Legendary Challenge Mode, Queen State Bridge event? Oh yes. Awesome. Yeah, subgroups are for healing and boon distribution. So if you have subgroups, your boons can be better handled. So if this person is my subgroup and someone else is not in my subgroup, I will prioritize giving them the boons than someone else, even if they're standing very close. So that can be very helpful to do in meta events because it will actually lead to more DPS, better healing, and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's really like people. I don't want to be like mean or anything. I think it like in open world, you just find the worst guild was 2 players, and that's a big problem for how can you design a boss that is like good for players that are really bad at the game, but also good for players that are pretty good at the game. So how can you do that? It's pretty challenging. Pretty challenging to actually cater to both audiences. I don't want to be in their shoes there. Like for me, that is pretty hard challenge for sure. I don't know. Maybe we have to go for like a fresh air kind of playstyle, power-based fresh air kind of playstyle. I think that might be better than like a Celestial version here. Yeah, we could go pet. Yeah, we could go pet. But the problem is pet is just like going for a pet build with like Elementalist is so much better if you go for Tempest, because then you have some stun breaks and stuff like that. I'm like running here with 1 stun break and no lightning flash. I don't know. I feel like it's for me. I don't know. Maybe Signet is the best way. I will now, like, I tried this now. I think it's like okay. You can make it work. Let's help our friend here. But it's definitely like, it's just way weaker. We get maybe a 1-on-1 here with this guy. No, they are disengaging. Okay. Yeah, we could play Spear. I guess we could play Spear. The problem with Spear is like then it wouldn't be core anymore. So I really wanted to go like fully core, even the relic core, but it's so bad. Yeah, I think I would probably go like a power-based version now. Let's try a power-based version and going for like Marauder pieces and saying, okay, we don't go for full. We don't go for full core anymore. We use everything that we have in our kit. So probably do we do Fireworks? Maybe fire. Is Fireworks good? Nah, searching. Maybe searching, but we have super speed. I don't know. What would you do? Probably maybe some toughness. Maybe get some toughness in there. What is a good toughness based rune? Let's do durability to get some wound duration as well. Just checking it out, see how it goes. Marauder and probably Scepter Focus, going like pretty evoker style. Scepter Focus and Marauder. And then because we're going power, we go energy cleansing for sure. Because we probably lack some boon, Condi removal rather. And that's the setup, the relic. Let's go probably for the relic. We could go like cantrip route if we go power. And then we would have like probably a good option with like Venom relic to get some nice protection uptime. But I have to be honest, I also see myself using actually Sakiros relic for some conversion. We have to see. Yeah, exactly. Marauder's core isn't core as well. Yeah, actually, the thing is that there's so many things that if you play a core build and you want to make fully core, then you are like limited so much that it's probably essentially not a good build anymore. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, core elementalist is pushing it for sure. For Zerging, it's fine with the staff, but for roaming, The damage is not here. And the problem is also the lead skills are so bad for roaming. If you like the glyph, yeah, maybe on a Condi build, maybe, but like the others is just horrible. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest, like I'm just having so much of the Kralkite ore stacking up from my, like, how is it called? From the, I have like 10 stacks of this plus, or like 20 stacks of this, just from the daily login into the homestead and gathering there. But if you need it, it can be really frustrating. I feel you, Tasha. That takes a while, for sure. It's just Visions and Aurora are just a big time sink, yeah. Do you think the new accessory will be easier to get than Vision and Aurora? I think so, yeah. We saw that with the other ring here, with the Endless Summer ring. It's pretty much the easiest ring to get, and that will probably be the same for the accessories. I would be very surprised if it isn't. Yeah. Yeah, I think the best one to get is probably the, yeah, I would say the new ones are probably the best to do. And for the elemental, I think we go for the elemental with water-based one to get some healing, I guess. Yeah, let's do it like that. And let's see, we go off definitely air with fresh air, and the one with air combo. That's just such a good combo on a fresh air build. And then we probably go full aggressive. Maybe arcane. Maybe arcane and like the same classic setup for fresh air build here. But then we go water. I think we go water because water might give me some pretty nasty damage increases here. If I run this here, you have 5% damage increase to vulnerable foes, which will be always the case. Maybe we want that, or we want to do the stop, drop, and roll, which is just a really good trade. Or maybe the cantrips here. Maybe that's a good ring. And then like this, get some Condi cleansed this way. Whenever I use a cantrip, I get a Condi cleansed. Could be okay. Deal increased strike damage, which is further increased while your health is above the health threshold. Just a huge DPS increase. If you don't struggle with Condis, like that would be the better way to do it. And some more vitality this way. Yeah, I mean, maybe full aggressive here. We don't need the Condi cleanse that often. I think that makes more sense. Let's try it. You know, we are lacking like huge damage. We just don't have that much damage output. But I guess we will try. Relic of Evasion, durability, fire or fireworks could be great. Yeah, I mean, the problem is like I feel like you need some damage option. I think for me personally, I think the thing that this build lacks the most is probably damage. And I guess we just have to go fireworks. I don't see any other relic being better than fireworks. 7% damage increase is probably solving more of your issues than having like a defensive relic. You have a decent amount of defenses. You are fast. You have a nice amount of like utility with stability and Condi cleanses and stuff like that. It's really most issues that I see here is that I don't have enough damage. Like I'm swapping to air. and that's my main damage, you know. It's like on Evoker I can spend my F5 skill, but I'm not on Evoker, so I don't have any F5 skill to spam. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's you're lacking a bit of like just damage. Like that is the main issue here. You have a nice burst with like your fire combo, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, Eagle is actually also pretty solid. Like maybe Eagle might be the better way to approach it because it actually can lead to some execute damage. Yeah, I think that might be a good take. Yeah. Yeah. But you see, my damage is like pretty low. Like I have good vulnerability application and stuff like that, but my damage is really like, even at high health, it's just a bit like lackluster. It really is. I cannot kill the Dolyag in time. I don't know. That's really like a. I think fresh air has so fallen behind in a lot of cases nowadays. If you don't have access to your F5 skill, like Kata has an F5 skill, your Evoker has an F5 skill, but you cannot play a fresh air Tempest really well because it just doesn't work that well in competitive modes. You need to use your overload all the time. I don't know. Ooh, we have someone in a 1-on-1. Let's see how it goes. Okay, let's see. 1v2 here. Not good, not good. That's not what we want. Not gonna work. I have to disengage this. Yeah, I cannot connect any damage while not having enough healing to actually outlast them. I mean, there are also 2 people, so that's also not fair. I have no damage. I cannot even get through this guy. Let me live. Yeah, that's pretty challenging. Not the best here. I mean, it's also a pretty good roaming build that I'm fighting against here, so there's that, I guess. I mean, I'm somewhat surviving just by running away here. The water elemental is actually big healing, big value here. Fresh air tempest is good, no kidding. I think it's okay. It's better than core, but it's worse than evoker. And I think that's just like, you know, it's the number that we have to look at. Oh, I thought I could connect finally one time my burst, but no, not gonna work. Oh my god, can we get anything done here? I mean, I would be pretty concerned if I were them, because they couldn't kill me yet. Oh, I would have killed him if he didn't dodge there. Oh my god, so sad. Okay. Nice. We got the rally. Easy 3v2. Yeah, I'm so sorry that you have to watch this. Core Elementalist peak gaming. Oh my god. At least I'm fast. Now they are running. I don't know if I can get anything done here. This guy has too much sustain. Yeah, classic amalgam. Yeah, what can I do? What can I do? And the random dodges, I really like those. It's fine. It's fine. We killed one. You know, one person. I didn't die, I killed one person. It doesn't matter how many people were there as well. Yeah. Look, build works, easy peasy. Build video coming out this evening. I'm not sure. That was just a meme build. I really wanted to make it work, but it's really like, I typically, when I go for tier lists in competitive modes and I look at Elementalist, core Elementalist, I put it into meme tier. It's always, because it's like, it doesn't have any thing that you need in competitive modes to deal damage. Like, what is the best way? Probably like spamming Scepter auto attack on a Condi build. That's probably one of the best ways to deal damage on like a core elementalist. You really like, I'm already taking like crazy damage increases here. Like, this is just insanity that I just cannot get anything done against the amalgam there. It was crazy. Like, it just showed how the core classes are like rather inferior. I didn't play very well either, keep that in mind. But even if I would not have a chance against that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You could play like Condi, like maybe like Dire gear or something like that, with like probably like, yeah, we probably would go Dire gear because that's core, and go for probably like Balthasar or something like that. Full burning duration with Condi damage and full Dire, like really completely annoy the enemy with Scepter focus and just be extremely tanky. And probably like, what would you put there? Like maybe smoldering. What is the burning duration? Maybe smoldering. Let's see. And probably like something like to cover with like Doom and Geomancy maybe. And then you go fire, earth, and I guess arcane to tank a bit and have some healing. Something like this would go like full Signet core. Again, Signet is the way to go, I guess. Yeah, you could even go like, let's see how much we could like 70%. But the smoldering would help a lot. Like, that's 20% more damage. But I guess like Geomancy Doom is just such a good combo. Yeah, I guess people would probably cleanse it. Yeah, if you go like this, and then what relic would you use? Probably core relic would probably be Relic of the Mirage or Relic of Evasion. Probably Evasion might be even better because just some vigor when you dodge. Yeah, I guess something like that. And then the burning duration increase. Do you get auras? Yes. So could you cleanse some Condis there? And then fire, of course. I guess something like that. And then you would play like completely defensive and just like hope that the enemy dies after like 5 minutes of auto attacking. Yeah. Let's try that once more. Yeah. Yes, I was going through all the news just a couple of minutes ago. Yeah. You can, of course, always watch the VOD after as well. Yeah. Exactly. I still hope that we get more news about the patch though. So like right now we have some sneak peeks and some like small trailers and stuff, but I really hope we get also some more updates with like, what can I say? Just a bit more like blog post and official updates and stuff like that. So for example, I really like that they changed like this like qualification for like the rewards at the end with the full-fledged thing. I think that's really fun. But I think they should give us more news about the patch as well. We will have to see. Yeah, Centaur durability can work because lack of boons. That is true. That is true. I mean, the thing. Oh, they are back. They are back. Now they are back. He's going on me this time. And I think Amalgam is actually. I think I can deal with this pretty well. Like. Yeah, you see, I think I can win this 1-on-1. Yeah, you will be sad to hear that, my friend, that I'm now a different monster of build here. Oh my god. That is nasty. Come on, like what the hell? In a 1v2 he drops the thing on me. And the Doljag is there as well. Yeah, I forgot the elite skill. Yeah, I know. But the thing is like, oh, they drop really the thing on me like in a 1v2. I will do that again. Go it again. Yeah, the water elemental would have saved me, I know. But it's really hard to cast it in the heat of combat when you are not in water right now. You really want to go to water when you want to heal, but you cannot precast the water elemental if you're not in water. So, misplayed. Let's hopefully they're still there and we can get the 101 again, because I actually think I can win this 101 now. But this build is better against the amalgam for sure. Has more damage potential. That's actually funny. Any classes you think, in your opinion, overperforming at PvE right now after the balance patch? Okay, they are back. I have to concentrate now. I will answer the question after this. So, water elemental. This time I'm here. Oh my god, they're playing double Condi. I mean, it's also already quite toxic of them that they cannot go into a 101. Classic world versus world, I would say. Yeah. It's nice. They got me hard. it's like so crazy, like going for Vindicator, healing, like the defensive, like with Salvation, Vindicator, and Amalgam to fight me. A core elementalist. Oh my god. Could have won it. So, yeah, I mean, if I played any actual build, I would actually have a chance. Yeah, I got them to half HP, you know? Yeah, that was almost. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, what was the question? Overperforming builds after the patch. I think they are all pretty solid. Like, in terms of DPS builds, I made a whole tier list about it. You can check it out. It's just like a couple of days old. That gives you all the answers you want. But in general, I would say, like, Reaper is really good right now. I think, like, Daredevil is really good. Berserker is really good. Like, some of the old classes, old specs, they are really good in PvE right after this patch. Like, Evoker is, like, still really high in the benchmark number, but I think it's not a, like, crazy good build anymore. I would say, like, I don't know. The thing is, you always have to consider every build in PvE is really good in the right circumstance. And some classes are just better at more circumstances, like more scenarios. So keep that in mind. But in general, I would say the balance patch made really good, like, balance after that. I would say everything is rather balanced. I'm really surprised how close the numbers are together. Yeah. I finally got Regalia, and I did the Stonehenge part for Aurora and Vision. Should I still continue working on those, or do you think the new one will be much easier to get? So I think the new one will probably be rather easy, but it will still need quite a lot of time investment. I would be very surprised if you could get the new accessory within a couple of days. I would guess it needs probably, if I'm being honest, like 10 days at least of farming the meta event. So that means that if you can, in the meantime, get to Aurora and Vision, they will probably be cheaper because less people are currently going for those than going for the new legendary accessory. And it will also probably have a somewhat heavy time gate. So keep that in mind. So I would personally probably say that Visions and Aurora are better to do if you don't mind the skins, yeah, of either of them. That is my opinion right now. But maybe that changes. Maybe I'm pretty sure that the new Visions of Eternity one will be easier to get, but it will probably also be more expensive. That is my assessment. Yeah, I think the balance is pretty good. Yeah, I know. Is Dagger competitive? Yeah, I think Dagger is pretty decent. It's not as good as Daredevil though. Dagger is better. So if you are really into Dagger, go for Daredevil. But Data is also okay. It's not as good though. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question there. This is such a meme build. It's so meme. I have not a crazy good boon uptime. That would be like probably like solving a lot. That's why Catalyst is so good. You know, you just get boons like for free essentially. Oh, they are back. Is it a 101 now? Please be a 101, and we can win this. Then we can win this. So, now we have the water elemental out. And you instantly kill my elemental. It's so mean. Yeah, it's not doable. It's not doable. It's so hard. I really try my best, but like he's one-shotting my elemental. What is this? Like my elite skill is getting one-shot by his elite skill. What? Counterplay 0. Like what? It's so mean. So mean, you know? The funny thing is, if I would play Fresh Air Evoker, I would probably kill him. But the thing is, I want to really try this build. Yeah, either way. Yeah, balance. The Burn Elementalist has high DPS, but seems to lack utility. Had some do nice damage in DPS. Yeah, it's the DPS and rates is pretty good on like this Evoker build. Like it's really good. Like Specialized Elements Evoker has really good numbers right now, like over 40k DPS. The problem is it has, if you run this build, full DPS build, you have essentially, I'm not joking, literally 0 like CC. Like nothing CCs here. And you have also no other utility. You have range and some stun breaks and a Condi cleanse, yeah, sure, but you have nothing for your team. So this is definitely the negative of this build. But if you like the playstyle of a Fire Wizard right now, it's a good build. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. Exactly. If you don't care about the skins, I would probably recommend continuing with Aurora and Vision. Exactly. Either way, I think that's the end of today's stream. We had some fun talking about the news and also maybe hopefully some fun playing some core Elementalist in World vs. World and why you shouldn't do it. Hope you enjoyed the stream and I wish you all a very nice weekend. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And thanks a lot for watching. Take care, everyone. See you around. Cheers.